Okay, welcome everyone. It's from the Daihatsu sponsored V8 Super Sedan title at Parramatta City Raceway here in Sydney. Big car count, more than, well, in fact, almost 60 cars in the pits. And I'm joined in commentary by a special guest, none other than the limousine driver with the most, Darren Cave. And Cave, man, welcome to the action here.
Thanks, Dino. It's good to be here. Australian titles. The big question will be if Nicola can fend off probably about 20 drivers that seem to be pretty cool to go and get number one this year.
Okay, we're straight into heat action actually. Our camera crew were pretty hot on it straight to the start of this one, and the lineup was Jamie Mchugh, Tony Barclaymore, Joel Carrick, John Leslight, John Smith, Robert Carrick, Tanya Smith, Bruce McKenzie, Darren Cave, Wayne Brims and Bill Miller. And just catching the race action at the moment, looks like Jamie Mchugh's doing a pretty good job up front.
Yeah, and that's Barclaymore in the 63 car from out Parks Way in the central New South Wales area. You see second spot sits Leslight. In second more times than enough in the Australian titles.
What are you saying, Darren, that he's used to being the bridesmaid a fair bit?
Mate, it's about time. He's been around a long time.
Now, a lot of people are talking about night number one. Of course, this is, I guess, in part a look back to this event. Many observers said, Darren, that the first night of racing of the Super Sedan Championship back in February was the best sedan racing you've ever seen. As you can see here, look at that great pass by Johnny Leslight on no slouch either, Jamie Mchugh. He is one talented Super Sedan driver, isn't he?
Got plenty of horses too, Mchugh, which Parramatta being a big track, nice and long, you need the horsepower. You notice Barclaymore now coming up too on the inside of Mchugh. No lack of horses as well with Barclaymore.
Do you know much about Tony Barclaymore's racing background? Can you fill the viewers in a little bit about him?
Not a real lot. He's very, very fast. He comes from out Dubbo way. Very fast around the tracks like Gilgander and the new Dubbo track out there. A little bit of experience at Newcastle when it was open, but I've raced against him a couple of times. He's a pretty fast man.
Yeah, well, what are your thoughts, I guess? It's been a sweet and sour time for those people who don't know. Darren Cave is from Newcastle, the Hunter Valley area here on the east coast of Australia. Obviously, you've seen the demise of Newcastle, but it was obviously great to see the Super Sedan title at Parramatta. And look at the great racing here, fantastic, exchanging the lead between Mchugh and Leslight.
Oh, Leslight back through as well on the inside of Mchugh. Mchugh will have another go down the back straight. Yes, with the Newcastle track, it was a demise of a big Super Sedan track, you may as well say.
Yep.
Always 20 to 25 cars at Newcastle, most of them from the Newcastle area. But yeah, it was certainly, it hurt Super Sedans pretty well, but luckily enough, Parramatta's taken up the reins. Here's Barclaymore, you see on the inside of Mchugh now.
Yeah, in fact, I've got to say, I mean, particularly in the halcyon days of Super Sedan racing, I mean, many people say the halcyon days at Newcastle were in the early 80s, late 70s, when you had a lot of the Americans coming out there, and some packed crowds and some high emotion on the racetrack as well, some very infamous moments at Newcastle Motordrome over the years.
Oh yeah, huge stuff from people like Big Ed Wilbur and Charlie Schwartz, all from back in the 80s days, the Yanks.
Yeah, fantastic stuff. John Leslight looks like he's got the bit between his teeth in this heat, but what a fantastic start to the action here. I'd suggest viewers to grab a coffee and take a nice casual seat in the house and just enjoy the action, because night number one especially was some of the, well, for me, the best sedan racing I've ever seen. Checker flags come out. John Leslight took the win, Jamie Mchugh second, Tony Barclaymore in third place, and we're straight into it. No rest for the wicked here. Heat number two of the Australian Super Sedan title, where Cross, Hayden, Logan, Garrett, the front two rows, and another guy to look out for is car number 36, Wayne Randall.
Certainly, it was a good run that last race too from Darren Kane in the yellow car. 5 came from about 9th back. Another guy to watch out for who's always fast around PCR is the red and yellow car on screen, Keith Sims.
Yeah, very interesting direction with Super Sedan racing at the moment, Darren. Some of the competitors obviously go for the American-style car bodies, but I guess Super Sedan racing was founded on trying to get some Australiana sort of into sedan racing. Ironically, at the start, you look at the Sims cars there, a Monaro. I mean, do you have a preference with how the cars should look on the racetrack?
Well, I feel that the Holden Ford battle would be good, but there really isn't any two-door. The two-door series, I think, looks great. And the American sort of two-door cars look excellent. We don't have a two-door Ford, so therefore you're looking like you're running around in a family sedan with 700 horsepower.
Oh, we got trouble in heat number two.
To be Pagel, one of them, the yellow car.
And car number 79. Is it?
71, I think. That's Lionel West.
Sorry, yeah, that's correct. Lionel West in the red machine. Bad luck. And we get a race restart. Just having a look at the track at the moment. Not too much in the way of ruts or holes, obviously, looking back at this event. Darren, you were out here on night number 1. We'd had a lot of rain that week. That's an understatement.
The track was pretty good, though. I felt that the track was great to drive on. It wasn't greasy or anything like that. The first heat was a little bit funny. You see Randall trying on the inside of Logue as they go down the back bend. The last accident we had there too with Pagel, I noticed in the pit area, those boys worked on that car for about 2 hours to try and get it back in for the last heat of the night. That's
professionalism, isn't it? Peter Logue, but he is under some very, very intense pressure from Wayne Randall. And Peter Logue, certainly in that Penrite sponsored machine, a multi-Australian champion, certainly knows how to turn left fast on these big clay tracks, doesn't he?
And Wayne Randall as well. Certainly there's some experience in those two guys.
Look at that wheel hiking there coming out of turn number 2. Fantastic action here already from the Super Sedans. And looks like we got more company coming into this one as well.
Yeah,
rubbing too.
Peter Garrett actually in the 56 car now, sits in around about 3rd. Look at the wheel hiking from Randall.
That's one of the unique traits, isn't it, of Super Sedan racing? That left front tends to get airborne pretty easily, and it's spectacular to watch as they come out of 4, and this is a great battle. Looks like Peter Garrett, he's certainly keen to come in. Pitches it down low, going through turns 1 and 2, but still a great tussle here amongst these top 3 chargers.
Yeah, the Peter Garrett car normally runs the 55 Monaro out of Newcastle, now running in the 56 car. Peter Logue still holding off Randall quite easily in the Ian Bocher Queensland car 1.
A bit of a lurch there coming out of turn number 2, trying to put the pressure on the Worldwide Machinery Penrite sponsored machine. Peter Logue, the Victorian, a Mexican, I guess a lot of people might say, from this neck of the woods. But Parramatta, describe it as a track to race on, especially for a Super Sedan rather, Darren. What is it like, and what are some of the things you've got to keep an eye out for?
Well, sort of being a rookie and only raced Super Sedan limited times, I found the track to be quite good. It gets a little bit rough up high, but if you get over the top of the cushion, that's no man's land in a sedan. That you may as well just give up and shut the thing right off, hit the brakes, and try and get back on as straight as you can.
Very well described. It's certainly some good racing early on here. The track, as we said, the bottom half of the racetrack certainly looking quite smooth, despite it being quite tacky. As we said, there had been a lot of rain. And of course, a lot of people would now know that night number 2 of the Sedan title was rain delayed big time. In fact, you can see the outer perimeter, the old trotting track, famous part of the old showground area here at the Raceway, absolutely bathed in water at the moment. In fact, Darren could go for a swim in there, not a problem at all. There's tons of water out there. But how about your own performance, Darren, on night number 1? Do you remember how you went, as we see the checkered flag and a good win to Logue over Randall and Garrett, and Keith Sims doing well for 4th?
Yeah, we did okay in the first heat. As I said, being a rookie, I'm not very experienced at this type of thing. My crew were, but unfortunately we had an engine trouble and had to retire for the rest of the event. We've only just got the engine back, so yeah, been on forever.
Oh, well, it's all about laps, isn't it? As we see heat number 3, and Barry Lear, Greg Allen were on the front row. Then we had Bernie Roberts, Danny Amato, Ray Brown, Wayne Dick, Michael Bogorski, certainly a talented peddler, and Jared Harper, a couple of Taswegians. What is it about Tasmania, Darren? They're so good in Super Sedan ranks, aren't they?
Well, there's not much else to do down there, I suppose. So speedway racing would be a bonus. You see problems there for the 81 car with a flat right rear.
Very well spotted there. Bernie Roberts too, moving forward at a great rate of knots. Started out of position number 3. Well, there you go. I've just made a fool of myself there. He's about in that position now, but looking menacing nonetheless in car number 44. Looks like a Commodore body paint, body styling there for Bernie Roberts. Certainly a hard charger at Parramatta.
Certainly was always fast at Newcastle too. Bernie's raced a whole heap of different types of Super Sedans. I remember him once when I was a kid running a Rover, of all things. So.
Rover, wow. And in the meantime, talking about Bernie Roberts, just did a beautiful high group pass on car number 59, Danny Amato. And some good racing further back as well. Some big fields. And do you like the format with Super Sedans? How you, I guess, don't time trial? You've got to strut your stuff in the heats. You've got to make it count there?
Yeah, I think that the heats really matter. I find with a time trial that I noticed with sprint cars, some guys are way off the pace in time trials. I suppose it happens with all sports. You look at the 500 Grand Prix type bikes back to Formula 1. You don't time trial well, you're really fighting against the odds by the end of the night.
Wayne Dick doing quite well in the Pontiac. Do you know much about Wayne?
Not a real lot. I just noticed before though the car seems really tight as you go into the corner. Big push about mid-corner on the 7 car.
Yeah, very well spotted there. And again, still getting that left front, hiking it. Some spectacular action. I guess a lot of viewers, this of course might be watched with interest right around the country. In fact, even internationally. A lot of people may be wondering what's going on in the back straight of Parramatta. Well, obviously there's some further seating refurbishments taking place there in readiness for our 2003-2004 season. There will be terracing and plastic bucket seats. In fact, if you look closely on screen, you can see some droplets on the camera lens here. Even on night number 1, we were battling the elements. In fact, this was a rain-delayed situation. In fact, this would have been normally the final night of the title, but we had to bump it back a day because of that dreaded rain, Darren. It really sucks when it rains, doesn't it?
Oh, and it didn't stop. Three days in a row. It was annoying.
Yeah, annoying. That's the G-rated version. For those who want the R-rated version of what we really thought of the rain, you'll need to contact the Raceway. Maybe me and Caveman will do a deal for you. But back to the action, and just having a look here at Bernie Roberts. He had a bit of an interesting start, but he's pressuring very strongly here and looking very, very threatening, and looks like that's lap traffic. In fact, Ray Brown, he dispatches with him pretty quickly at the moment. Wayne Dick looking solid in second place. Jared Harper saw him move forward. In fact, Jared Harper, I believe, Darren, is at this time was the Tasmanian champion at the moment. So obviously a very talented peddler.
Yeah, certainly. But, and you'll find, I think, that is Amato in second. With the 7s on the side, it always seems to upset everybody. Here's Amato, tries on the inside of Bernie Roberts.
Yeah, in fact, well done. In fact, looking at the roof number, car number 59. It is a quandary with sedan racing. I know David Tapp, my fellow co-commentator, as we get the checkered flags. First was Bernie Roberts, second Danny Amato. Well spotted, Darren. Third to Jared Harper. Very good run, seeing as he came from position 8 on the race grid, Darren.
Certainly, yeah. Good drive from Harper and Townsend, who finished behind Harper then, the Taswegian in the Hollyman Transport car.
Yeah, welcome to the action here. Hope you're enjoying the highlights of the Daihatsu Australian V8 Super Sedan title. I'm Dean Neal. I'm joined by none other than a limousine driver by day, but a menacing Super Sedan stomper by night, Darren Cave. And I hope you're enjoying the action. As we see heat number 4 lined up, we've got Kim Cottrell, the South Aussie. Who's your sponsorship now? He is the racer's racer, Darren. He races speed cars, he races super sedans. He almost likes to turn laps in anything that goes fast.
Yeah, certainly. Wouldn't we all like to be able to do that? Just jump from one to the other. So you'll notice Vosbergen, good move on the inside, now sits in second spot. Looks like we have an amber light.
Yeah, look, I'll tell you what, another fellow expat West Aussie, Wade Aundra, and I will tell you many a long story about Big Bad Bird Vosbergen over in Western Australia, fist pumping the crowd. He used to play the bad boy tag very well, and used to get the crowd excited about it as well. And just talking about trouble, one of the fancies, it has to be said, I think this man was highlighted as one of the standouts as a contender for the championship. Ron Pine in the beautifully presented Auto 1 car number 72.
That is a great looking car, isn't it? Ron rumoured to be on retirement. I think that is probably half dozen retirements in the last 6 years for Ron.
Yeah, there's all talk about his son doing a number of black track racing pursuits, including there was a possibility of him campaigning for the Holden Young Lions, rather. And I don't know if that's quite come about. And speaking of West Aussie, look at that, 3 wide coming out of turn number 2. Some great racing from the Super Sedans, Bert Vosbergen and Mark Giancola. Now, Mark had only just purchased his car just prior to the title. He said he had no idea how to set the thing up properly. As you can see, a big push coming out of 2. In fact, turn 4, sorry. I
see Vosbergen too, with the tear-offs hanging out the back of the car, so evidently he'll have no tear-offs left.
Well spotted by Darren Cave there. Obviously not a good situation with the track marbly and very tacky like this. I think that's the last thing you need. And in fact, you can see on the race cars following our leader, there is a bit of clay on the bodywork. So obviously tear-offs are at a premium, but Big Bad Bird makes contact with Cottrell down the back straight, manages to regather it. He will not die wondering, Bert Vosbergen.
Certainly not. And Giancola now takes up second spot, Vosbergen back. There's one of the big favourites, another Tassie. In the little transport car 6, the yellow car.
Car 46 in fact.
46 on the roof, yeah, I have to get used to those.
Yeah, that's it, the roof numbering. It's always been a talking point with a lot of people, but I guess you just got to deal with it. Bert Vosbergen driving car number 4, in fact, is the South Australian champion. Figure that one out. He races in Western Australia heaps. He races a late model as well over there. He also races in Tasmania, and he's the South Australian state champion. He's what you call a cosmopolitan campaigner, isn't he?
Jack of all states.
That's it. But Kim Cottrell looking very, very solid in that Who's Your Tired sponsored machine. Great to see a crow eater in our midst. And it's fair to say South Australia, I guess, a lot of their divisions are suffering a little bit at the moment, and Super Sedans is no exception. I wonder what it's going to take to turn that around.
Yeah, very hard, I suppose. But Super Sedans are always a spectacle, being a sedan type of setup and big V8s. I noticed Cottrell too with it looks like a flat right rear as he came around last time around. So, and the other boys seem to have caught up to him, Brad Smith and Giancola.
Yeah, looking at the tyre folding over big time. Do Super Sedans run a bead lock on the wheels, on the rims?
Yes, I do. Yes, run a bead lock, same as sprint cars.
Yeah, very good, obviously very important. I mean, what's the lowest tyre pressure you can run in a Super Sedan, Darren, on the racetrack? Can you get low like you can in a sprint car, for example?
Well, I don't know the tyre pressures with sprint cars, but we run around about from 8 through to about 12 in the left rear, depending on the track surface, of course. But 8 pound is about the lowest I normally run.
Yeah, I guess still though, when you're talking about sealing the tyre nicely onto the rim, a bead lock would be needed when you're running 8 PSI. And talking about Kim Cottrell, looks like the right rear tyre is going to come loose pretty soon. It looks like he's got some serious engine or driveline troubles there too, Darren.
Yeah, looks like an oil leak probably coming out of a tappet cover oil leak or something like that. Car still seems to be firing good. But and if Kim had any suspicion the engine was going to have a problem, of course he'd shut the thing down. These cars are too expensive to be playing with.
What a dominant run though by Brad Smith, the Tasmanian. Came out of position 9, the back row, Darren, and he's now leading this heat. He is laying out a very clear message to his competitors right here.
Certainly. One of the favourites for sure. I'm impressed with Ron Pine, who's come from the back of the pack and now sits behind what looks to be half a car of Kim Cottrell's.
Half a car. Ron Pine, certainly one of the fancies. In fact, in the lead up to this event, had a nice story in colour photograph on revving Ronnie Pine in the Daily Telegraph, and certainly identified as one of the real outright chances for the championship. Of course, a former Australian champion in this category. As the checker flag comes out, and Kim Cottrell, there goes that right rear tyre that Darren Cave was talking about. Terrible luck for the driver of the Hoosier. Kim Davis Tyres, Art Metal Coat Pontiac machine.
Great start. All the way. Trashed everything. Smoke falls out. Looks like something out of a movie scene.
Now, would he have known that there was serious trouble with that car, that there would have been vibrations and stuff? Looking at the back end of the car, I mean, now I know with the Super Sedan title format, the reason I asked that, Darren, is the format says you can throw away your weakest heat. So maybe, do you think it could have been a bit of a wise decision maybe just to pull it back in and work on the car and get it sorted out?
Well, as it sits, he's probably running around about the top 5, and you have to finish anyway. So if Kim has a bad heat later on the night, he has that to fall back on. He's still running the top 5 or so. So for sure, it's better to go and finish if you can. He would have felt the tyre going down. The car would have felt very strange.
Okay, we move through heat number 5. The pace is a firecracker here at Parramatta City Raceway. In fact, he was credited with a 5th place finish. Good to see another guy making the long haul across the Nullarbor Plain, Frank Doze. Very, very professional. I've got to say, Darren, he sent me an absolute avalanche of promotional information and sponsorship rundown, and I guess professionalism is always a valuable asset in the sport, isn't it? I mean, you've commentated yourself at Newcastle. It certainly helps your job, isn't it, when you've got drivers coming forward giving you the required information?
Yeah, for sure, and the sponsors love it too. So sponsorship's hard to get in this sport, very, very difficult to get, but for sure the promotional stuff that we used to get in Newcastle was great. No doubt you get it at PCR as well, don't you?
Certainly do, from the right people, and it makes the job easier. In fact, you get some people say, gee, you really know all that guy's sponsors, and you say quite simply, well, he's given me the information, and sure, we also got to do our fair share in chasing it up, but it certainly makes it easier when they give you the information willingly. Frank Doze holding his own, but a man to keep an eye on as well is car number 11, Mchugh, the Queenslander, in a Taurus chassis, sponsored by Weatherall Prestige Auto Body. Certainly impressed so far here, and certainly knows how to go around a racetrack in fine style.
Yeah, tough heat. Mchugh too, multiple Australian leader car champion before he moved into Super Sedans. Always pristine, these cars of the Weatherall Smash cars. So.
Yeah, one of the nicest cars. In fact, this car was brand new for the title, particularly for night number 1. And talking about fancies, how about this man? The National Warranty Company machine, the Lucas Oil sponsored car number 1. Won the Australian title in Albany in Western Australia 12 months earlier, Mick Nicola. I call him Mighty Mick, and I think he deserves that tag, mate.
Oh, for sure, yeah. Always very professional in the way he's turned out in his Pontiac Grand Prix. Greg Smith on the outside of Nicola that time, one of the Newcastle stalwarts. Hot and cold sometimes, Greg, but does a great job in the Genie air conditioning car.
Certainly does. Michael G, starting position number 5, currently running, I think, in the top 5, so holding his position. Oh, great battle here at the pointy end of this one. Car number 16, Greg Smith, also holding his own, and the track looking absolutely ideal. And look at the racing further back, 3 wide, and Leadfoot, Luke Pine in the Tri-Steel machine. Well, we're going to find out later on. I guess we are looking back, but he had a weekend he'd rather forget at the end of the day.
For sure. Kevin Purton on the inside of Luke there, but for sure, Luke's just... He had a good start and it just went downhill from there.
I mean, he was probably the fastest guy, and I guess a lot of viewers may not realise, but Luke Pine came in as we've got a yellow light situation here. He was the hot man to trot coming in. He'd won, I think, 2 features on end at Parramatta City Raceway in Super Sedan action, so he certainly had this place figured out.
Yeah, it's looks a bit, when you look at the Pine situation, there's 3 Pines that are all equivalent of an Australian champion, with John and Ron already won back-to-back Australian championships. Luke's destined to be the next one.
Yeah, for sure. Campbell Aylett, car number 38, another Tasmanian, driving a sister car of Bert Vosbergen's Kendrick Racing Engines Power. Certainly very nice race cars, and I remember night number 1, Darren, John Singleton, of course, a former Australian champion, came up to me and said, Dino, that was the best night of sedan racing I think I've ever seen. I mean, he was totally blown away, and I know he was involved with Frankie Doze, but did you get that feedback? Did you know that this was a special night of racing when you're on the racetrack? Did you know that it was so exciting to watch from a spectator point of view?
Oh, I actually knew that when I drove into the pit area. To see 60 super sedans and transporters down there, and some of the transporters are absolutely V8 supercar type stuff. But
no question.
The first night was excellent. Everyone kept it clean, which is a good way to be. You don't want to be going home that night and fixing up race cars. It was a good night at Speedway. See Luke Pine hiking the inside front.
Oh, he mashes that go pedal, doesn't he?
Kevin Purton still sitting back in 4th. There we see Greg Smith still doing a good job. Started off the front and now lines up Nicola. Nicola making a couple of mistakes there with the Australian champion number 1 car.
Yeah, getting absolutely shown the inside pass beautifully by car number 16. Mighty Mick Nicola, though, down on the low groove, coming out of turn number 4. Great racing from the super sedans. This is what you missed out on if you weren't here. Some of the best racing, a bit of contact further back. Purton and car number 16, Greg Smith. I wonder how they're going to come out of that. Looks like they're both going to be okay.
It's a tough car of Purton's to be belting that hard and getting away with it. Greg Smith looks like problems and parked it on the back straight.
Now, most of these cars, the outer panels, is it aluminium or is it fiberglass, or do you get a mixture out there?
A bit of both. We actually run a tin setup, aluminium setup. That's all manufactured by the person who used to own my car. And I know people like the Pines and Bernie Roberts and the Sims team, those type of people, they get the factory fiberglass bits. But I find that you're just always preferring the fiberglass, whereas the aluminium, you can knock it back into shape fairly well.
Mick Nicola was credited with the win, as you can see. Luke Pine, you may remember, Darren, unfortunately got disqualified because his window net came loose.
Yeah, he'll never make that mistake again. If the window net comes down next time, it would have been best of him to pull over and put the window net up and restart. At least he would have been credited with around 5th or 6th spot.
In fact, in sprint cars now, they've made a rule. If you're racing on the track and your your belts are loose, you can stop and they will restart you. It's the only incident in sprint car racing where they'll let you restart in the order where you were before. I guess that's just highlighting the need for safety, that you don't want people being heroes out there without the required safety devices intact.
Yeah, for sure, especially with super sedans, because with sprint cars, it's a very good rule, because I find a lot of the stop type rules in sprint cars are a little bit sort of strange. But yeah, for safety's sake, guys will actually stay out there and race if their belts are undone. There's no doubt about it. Some people will do it.
Yeah, if you're a Ford fan, are you a Ford fan, Darren?
Major
Ford fan. Well, you'd be happy to see Alan Baker in the Falcon really doing well. Car number 32 for the title, of course. Those of us on the East Coast would be more familiar seeing Alan Baker in car number 3, but certainly doing well in the early going of this heat race. In fact, started on the pole, so I guess you'd have to fancy his chances from there, wouldn't you? But John Pine, the veteran, certainly had a very exciting and very strong first night here, didn't he?
Oh, yes, very strong. Always, though. John Pine is a very wily fox, if I can put it that way. He's always at the top end of the field and somehow makes his way from the back to the front easily.
Look at him up high on Darren Hickman, car number 19. John Pine is on a tear, and you've got to realise he came well back from his starting position, position number 10, I believe, in this heat race, and he's moved forward to third already, coming through turn number 4. This is going to be a great tussle at the pointy end of this heat race.
Darren Hickman with no short of horses as well in the yellow 19 on the roof. But Alan Baker, a little bit stroppy sometimes, but Alan Baker certainly can drive that Falcon.
Now, Alan, I didn't say that, okay? Look, I'm just absolving myself right here. But having a look at John Pine, he would run, would that be an aluminium or a fiberglass body panel? A lot of it seems to be flapping about on the race car.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
He'll probably have the fiberglass panels on the front guard area. Of course, the front and rear bumpers are all like a plastic moulded setup. So.
What about the side panels there? As you can see on screen, the viewers, particularly when he comes around for the next lap, they seem to be quite loose and flimsy looking. Of course, the chassis is fundamentally strong, and we're going to prove that later on in the coverage, obviously, with John Pine. But certainly looks very interesting to see such loose panels. You can see it sort of folding in underneath the car there a little bit. Yeah,
the fiberglass will only be very thin fiberglass, so it's evident that the body panels you don't have to hold them on with too much. So
a bit of blue tack.
Why waste the weight? Yeah, I know of some cars that are practically cable tied together.
Oh, goodness me. But there's a great battle at the pointy end of this one. John Pine and Alan Baker. How many dices and lead swaps have these two endured over the years, you reckon, Darren?
Multiple. So you see John Pine just... Baker held on a little bit on the outside, and you lose around about 6 car lengths Baker lost just by staying on the outside.
Absolutely. David Gartner out on track looking good as well. Sorry, you're saying, mate?
Yeah, Gartner also looking good in the Speedway Autos car. I noticed Hickman earlier on, it hit the wet puddle down in turn 1-2. The car absolutely pushed to the top of the track.
There you have it, heat number 6 in the books. The Daihatsu sponsored Australian V8 Super Sedan title. Dean Neal here with you, accompanied by none other than Darren Cave. And a good crowd in, and you can see on screen there, look at the puddle and the water on the background there. A lot of rain at Parramatta City Raceway in the lead up to this one. Look at them lurching into it 3 wide through turn number 2. Some great racing here from the Super Sedans once again. Car number 10 on track, looking very, very potent as well. In fact, that's the side number again. I've got confused.
Tim Watts in the green Beechwood Homes cars. We've got Paddy Ward all the way from out Dubbo way as well. Peter Garrett sitting there in second in the 56. Then Brims in the Brims Transport car. Now that is a very, very quick motor car and driver from Lismore.
In fact, I was right. Tim Watts is car number 10, so I was on a winner there. But yeah, a lot of quality in this one. And car number 99, viewers, was in this heat race. None other than the Cave man, Darren Cave. And Darren, do you remember how you went in this heat race?
I think this was the second heat. I didn't really have any chance at all of doing anything.
Look, mate, you're having a go, and that's the main thing. That here we go further back once again. Obviously, we're onto our second rotation. In fact, this is the first heat of our second rotation of heats, and big Bert Vosberger doing what he likes to do. But look at mighty Mick Nicola, a beautiful highline tussle. He's saying to Bert Vosberger, you can muck around rubbing and racing like that, I'll just pass you on the high line.
Yeah, this being the second round of heats, we'd already put in the trailer this time, but it's good to be able to sit and watch what happened while we were packing up.
What happened on the night?
We just dropped the valve seat, which went through the engine, unfortunately. So, and not being experienced, if it was a bike, I would have known to shut it down straight away. But I drove it for half a lap, and the damage had been done.
In fact, just an interesting illustration what we were talking about before, Darren, with Mick Nicola. He tried it right up high, coming out of turn number 2 on the Marbley section of the track, and it was like a pogo stick through there. So, as you were saying, if you go up that high, you're going to lose a lot of forward momentum, aren't you?
Yeah, for sure. It's just over the cushion. You'll notice now, Mick's car seems really tight too. But from what I've gathered over watching Mick race over the last season or so, he seems to set the car up for the last night, for the last race of the night.
Car number 77, you were touching on him before. Wayne Brim started out position number 4 in this race. And look at him, he's almost hiking that left front wheel down the back straight. Great stuff from Brimsy as he comes through turns 3 and 4. That car setup looks quite nice. On the bordering, on the edge of tight, I guess, but sometimes tight can be fast.
Yeah, for sure. And it's only Wayne's second season in Super Sedans. His dad was a very, very creditable Super Sedan driver. And Wayne's second year, I watched him race last year in Newcastle. He was very, very fast. Problems for Neil Watson there.
Okay, we got a race restart obviously coming up here, but Wayne Brims has looked very good so far in this heat race, as we touched on earlier, Darren. Been very, very impressive as we get them underway for this one. Bert Vosbergen very keen. What a surprise.
He's always sneaking up the inside, Bert Vosbergen, on the restarts. It just seems like he's got the thing straightened up and ready to go in a straight line. Paddy Ward doing a good job too, sitting in third at the moment. Vosbergen relegates Brims back. Spoke too soon.
He spoke too soon. Side by side, how good is this racing? Bert Vosbergen and Wayne Brims. And Wayne Brims uses the momentum, I guess that extra bit of banking up height to use that to good effect and re-establishes a handy race lead over the West Aussie.
See now too, Duno, the track's coming in a little bit higher now, where they were running about a car length down from where they're running earlier in the earlier heats. Wayne Brims seemed to be doing a really good job up a little bit higher. Vosbergen pushed down the bottom.
Yeah, that's it. Brims in the Brims Bug Transport Camaro, really hiking that left front. Have a catch it on camera if we get it again shortly. Mick Nicola. Looks like he's sorted out that race car a lot better for this rotation of heats. The car didn't look quite right in that first round of heats, but that car's looking a lot better this time round.
And these three clearing out from the rest of the field, round about the length of the main straight. You see Nicola now on the inside of Vosbergen as they go down the back. He
had a big push there, didn't he, through turns 1 and 2, Bert Vosbergen. Obviously, the car not ideal in the setup department just at the moment. And well, I'm a Holden fan, so I'm privately happy. Only joking, viewers. Car number 10, Tim Watts, has come to a stop in turn number 4.
Tim, pretty hard charger too, used to be at Newcastle. Only a very young guy, about 6'2" actually, but still in school. Started out in junior sedans, was a kart racer before that, so which a lot of our younger racers are, of course.
Yeah, I think that's the big challenge going forward, isn't it, Darren, for the division? They need to find the younger stars. Of course, there's a lot of household names in Super Sedan ranks that are still at the pointy end, but guys like Luke Pine and I guess Tim Watts as well, they need more of those drivers as we see a great battle for the lead, or at least for the minors, coming out of turn number 4. Mick Nicola and Bert Vosbergen exchanging second place. Great racing.
Yeah, certainly, and now Vosbergen's going to try on the inside of Brims, gets a push as they come out of turn 2. Still Nicola sits in third spot. This is excellent racing from the Super Sedans night 1.
Now, the fact that there isn't an outer fence right on the very edge of the racetrack, do you think that gives a lot more of the drivers confidence to run up high on the track?
I didn't even know there was a fence there.
That answers the question, viewers. What fence? One thing, Luke Pine, as we see the next heat, but just quickly, well done to Wayne Brims over Vosbergen, Nicola and Paddy Ward in 4th. A very impressive heat result for Wayne Brims, heat number 8 now. And Alan Baker, look at him already moving forward. He started well back and he is looking very, very threatening. But I was just going to touch on before, Darren, with Luke Pine, he was explaining the fact because there isn't a fence right on the edge of the track, sometimes the corners come up on you really quickly and always catch you by surprise.
Yeah, they do. With a normal track, with the fence around the outside, you can see the white fence coming up on you all the time. But with the track at Parramatta, because it's so wide, you have plenty of room for if you do make a mistake, you've got plenty of room. So therefore, you're not really sacrificing your car.
Another impressive Tasmanian, Phil Townsend in the Falcon, sponsored by Holy Man Transport. I hope he's not acting holier than thou out there on the racetrack. He'll be caught out pretty quick. Looks like he's got Patrick on board as a sponsor as well. Great to see for car number 43. And let's hope we see more of these Tasmanians in the future. They certainly were very, very clean race car drivers, I noticed as well, Darren. Even on night number 2 when there's a lot of commotion going on, especially guys like Brad Smith and Jared Harper, they tended to race very cleanly, went into the rubbing action too much.
Yeah, for sure. And I didn't really want to point it out to you, Dino, but it's Ford's 1-2.
Oh, come on, mate. Anyway, back to the racing. Where's that damn Holden? No, Keith Sims and Dennis Sims aren't in this heat, unfortunately. But yeah, it's a Ford 1 and 2. The Blue Oval are fist pumping at the moment in this heat race. And looks like our race leaders have got a healthy advantage over the rest of the field. As we're touching on, Alan Baker started fair way back. In fact, started on the back mark in this heat race, position number 10. And the Stein earth-moving Falcon, well, he's got to be delighted with this Kayfie.
Yeah, stomped on him, Baker, this time too. Second spot's still Townsend. You'll notice back in third, Barclaymore, who had a really good run in the first heat. Townsend run 4th in the first heat from memory, and now Barclaymore still sits in third.
Yeah, Barclaymore in the CTH Racing Camaro. And looks like, talking about setups, looks like Alan Baker certainly has got that car handling a lot nicer, even looking at the way he's going through the turns at the moment. Absolutely spot on. And as a result, he's got a very healthy race lead in heat number 8 of the Daihatsu-sponsored V8 Super Sedan Championship. held in, well, inclement, but great track conditions on night number 1.
Yeah, fast racetrack too tonight, Dean. Very fast track. The track's coming really well, considering the amount of rain. Congratulations to the track staff to actually get the track raceable.
Yeah, Gary Lacornu, our track curator, I can tell you, at about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, he was out there with bucket and spade and everything else, and certainly made it, I think there was a time early in the afternoon, we were sitting there looking at the clock and looking at the track conditions, and it was very, very wet, turns 3 and 4. And I'm very, very surprised as how well that part of the racetrack, right on screen now, viewers, held up during the night. It held up A-OK.
Good stuff for Baker too, because he started from the back and now leads this heat race. If you can make positions up during your heats, it's making you look very, very good for the feature as far as starting positions go.
Tony Barclaymore, he'd be happy as well. Obviously the car not quite dialed into Supremo setup at the moment, but he came from position 7 and will finish 3rd in this one. But first to Alan Baker, 2nd to Philip Townsend, 3rd to Tony Barclaymore, and Bernie Roberts finished 4th. He came from position 9, so he got enough points there to keep himself in the reckoning. We move to heat number 9 now, and gee, big fields and big time racing, and on night number 1 the racing just got better and better. And as you can see, you were touching on it before, Darren, there's definitely some more competitors looking to push it up the track a little bit, try and pass people on the high line.
A couple of boys coming from the back. Jamie Mchugh, one of them, on screen now in the 23 car with the Australian flag down the side. And Michael G also in this one, 2 spots back from Mchugh. But the man out in front is Robert Carrick. He will be very, very hard to catch.
Jamie Mchugh as well, beautifully presented cars, sponsored by Australian Garages and Carports, Who's Your Racing Tyres, and certainly a very, very talented competitor from the old Queensland neck of the woods, not too far north of Newcastle.
Yeah, beautiful spot. Miami, from all reports, Jamie comes from Miami, one of the Miami Smash boys. But 3 wide as they come on the main straight. Jamie Mchugh slips up the inside of car 17, major contact as they went into the bottom turn.
Look at this racing. It is on in absolute fury here. Car number 59, Danny Amato. He has been excitable tonight.
Yeah, Jamie Mchugh was about to serve back what he just got in the last turn by the looks of it. And right on Mchugh's rear bumper is Michael G.
Michael G. That car, as we touched on earlier, a brand new racing car. Now, noticing some of the race cars, some of the newer sedans especially, they're on that lower profile sort of tyre on the car. Can you explain what that's all about? Like some of the cars seem to have a lot bigger rubber on the rim than others.
I think what you're probably trying to allude to is, there's that word.
Am I getting there?
It's just, of course, the inside left is smaller than the outside right. We're talking about rear tyres. That gives the car stagger, which actually makes the car turn into the corner.
Okay, as we see them continue on in full warfare. But you'll notice some of the sedans, what I'm talking about here, that the right rears look bigger on some than others. Some of them run this alternate setup borrowed from America. I'm trying to get the vernacular right. It might come to me later on. But in the meantime, car number 2, Robert Carrick. Looks like he's got a bit of a flat tyre problem last time going around. That right rear again looking pretty soft.
Yeah, and I noticed a little bit of smoke coming from Jamie Mchugh's car as they went down the back last time round. G now sits in 3rd spot. These 2 fellows, Jamie Mchugh and Michael G, have year in, year out for the last couple of years had their own, done a little bit of promoting themselves and had a 10,000 to win Super Sedan show, which attracts big numbers.
I can imagine that, and Michael G looking very good. In fact, you look at the right rear on Michael G's car, that is nowhere near the sort of tyre appearance of some of the older cars on track. I remember doing an interview for Checkered Flag, actually for Foxtel, talking about it. I just can't remember the correct technical mumbo-jumbo. Darren's going to slap me afterwards for forgetting, but anyway, that's the way it goes. But the action's very, very good here at Parramatta. And Michael G came from position number 9, Darren, so he'd be delighted at moving forward and really threatening in this one.
Oh, for sure, as Robert Carrick comes through, look like Amato there on the outside of the track with problems, but still trying to finish the race. It is imperative that you finish your heats.
Absolutely. Talking about finishing, Mark Giancola came from the back mark, position number 11, has moved forward to about 5th place at the moment. That's a good result for him. Probably want to move forward a little more yet. And, well, good win too to Robert Carrick over Jamie Mchugh, Michael G, Wayne Dick and Mark Giancola in 5th place. Bogorski, the Tasmanian in car number 17, takes out 6th place. Very exciting heat race action here from Parramatta City Raceway. And that was heat number 9. We got trouble on the track there. Cars come to a stop. Couldn't catch the number.
Lindsay Barnes, that was, in
what
brand new
was
car.
it?
Ford.
Yep. Okay.
Must have got hit by a Holden, I would say.
Okay, we move to heat number 10. We got Bill Miller, David Gardner, John Pine, Brad Smith. Keep an eye on him. He's out of position number 5, and you can see him on screen now in that little transport. He is certainly a very excitable race car driver and took to this track like a duck to water. Gee, they slammed that cushion, didn't they, coming out of turn 4, and it made the car an absolute bucking bronco as a result.
Certainly did, and gee, the track has changed from the last heat. No doubt we've had races in between, but the track very, very slick compared to what it was earlier. Big hole down in the bottom pit turn.
Certainly, that's the first thing that's very, very obvious. John Pine, car number 9. Gee, that rhymes. But he's doing very, very well up high, and he started, well, out of position number 3, lost a little momentum, so he's had to muscle his way back forward. Brad Smith, he has impressed me. Did you know much about Smith before his venture to Parramatta?
Nothing at all, though. He ran second in the Tasmanian Championship, but didn't know a real lot about him. He now muscles his way underneath Gardner. Look at Pine. Swaps from the outside to the inside. Still doesn't make contact down the bottom. And Smith now sets sail after our race leader.
Yeah, cagey veteran. That's the best way to describe John Pine, the NZ Pennzoil, car number 9. And I love that, just talking about nicely presented race cars, David Gardner in the Bullet chassis. And obviously good to see some really nice car construction companies getting together and turning out some beautifully presented race cars, Darren.
Yeah, certainly. The Speedway Autos car's great looking car. Here's Bill Miller about to be pined. So as they go down the back, John Pine round the outside of Bill Miller. Look at the air on the inside of the left side of the 9 car.
Interesting, he actually put it over the cushion there through turn 3 and 4. He was happy to run it right in the middle of that sticky, marbly clay, but it certainly got a lot of bite and a lot of forward momentum for it. Yeah,
there's some very soft cars. A lot of cars hiking the inside front wheel as they come out of turn 4. Bill Miller now under attack from Smith as they come up the main straight.
Miller in the Athol Auto Parts pink. Do I say that? Is it pink?
Yeah, it looks pink to me.
Yeah, pink, not purple. I hope I don't get in trouble for that, but certainly holding his own very, very well. Bill Miller. But John Pine has come from, well, as I said, a bit of an indifferent start to this heat race, but boy, look at that left front wheel as he comes out of turn number 2. Gee, I've got to say, Super Sedan Racing, when they do it right at Parramatta, it is great to watch, Darren.
Oh, certainly. 3 wide most of the time. Smith's still doing a good job in second spot, but for sure, Parramatta is an action track. No matter what category you take to Parramatta, you have to see good racing. If it's bigger cars like this, they're 3 wide. If it's leader cars, they're 4 wide. Very exciting track, PCR.
As they come out of turn number 4, and it's, well, they're pretty much settled down, as settled as we've seen any of the heat races on night number 1 of the Daihatsu sponsored V8 Super Sedan Championship. They're pretty much strung out. We haven't seen too much of that here. It's been very, very ferocious racing. Brad Smith probably content and happy to secure second place. He came out of position 5 at the start of this one, so he's holding his own. Trying to see if there's any other big movers. Hard to tell at the moment. Frank Doe, stay position number 8. Looks like he's moved through to about 5th place. So they pretty much hold their own. Oh, Brad Smith really made a lot of ground coming out of 4. But there's the checkered flag. Gee, Brad Smith. I mean, John Pine is a multi-Australian champion, and he's really sent a message that his car is dialed in here.
And amazingly, John Pine's only race meeting for the season so far, been concentrating on Luke. So the Pennzoil number 9 doing a good job that time out to take out that heat.
Yep. Heat number 11 now. Yeah, we're cranking them out. We've got plenty of heat races. There's 3 or 4 heat races, I believe, per driver. So there's plenty of opportunity to get the points you need to get a good start. Now, one thing I'm going to touch on here, Darren, is one thing for me as, I guess, a commentator and a PR guy and a fan of the sport fundamentally is I'm a little disappointed that when you get 60 cars that they don't have a B main or a preliminary main to give an opportunity for some guys to transfer through. What are your thoughts on that?
That was a major shock because with the second night, of course, if you had no chance of making it as far as points go, they packed up and went home, which on the second night we ended up with a lot less cars for that reason. There were some big boys went home actually, so unfortunately that's just what happened. It was wrong. It should have had a B main. I like the A, B, C main type setup as they have in sprint cars. It's great.
Well, you never throw the towel in there, do you? It gives you a thing of never say die. You never know what can happen. And yeah, that's right, viewers. That was Darren's phone. He's a popular man here, and he's come a great expense to the establishment, let me tell you. Now, it's great to have Darren Cave here, and looking at the action in this heat race, car number 19, Darren Hickman, looking very, very good. In fact, he had a pole position start. Peter Logue on the outside, maybe a bit of a turn for the books that Logue couldn't pass him at the start, but look at the battle now between the two protagonists I was just talking about.
Oh, excellent race. I thought it was Logue's mobile car phone, actually, that just went off.
Oh, I think Peter liked that, but Peter Logue, of course, another, and there's plenty of them. A stellar field of competitors, a lot of former Australian champions here, and a lot of them seem to get into the rhythm. They seem to be multi-champions on a number of occasions. Look at this battle. Oh, we've got a yellow light, have we? Or we got a problem with Hickman?
Yeah, for sure.
Hickman has got mechanical woes. That's dreadful, like just when we were whetting our appetite for a tremendous duel for the race lead. Gee, just having a look on track at the moment, Keith Sims probably looking as good as he has, well, all night so far in that Monaro. And yeah, it's a Holden, but he's still a fair way back behind this guy. Peter Logue in the Penrite-sponsored Worldwide Machinery car number 26. Yellow lights, maybe Hickman was unable to get himself off track in good order there, Darren, but gee, some great racing.
Yeah, certainly. And the thing that I've noticed too, we've probably got first, second and third from every state here at PCR for the Australian titles, which is a pretty big effort from a lot of the drivers to have the top three in just about every state in Australia here.
Yeah, well, let me just put on my Parramatta City Raceway cap for a moment and formally and say congratulations to the Super Sedan fraternity. You turned up, you made the tow, and I know from South Australia and WA and even Queensland, it's not a cheap thing to do, and look, we were rewarded on night number 1 especially. And even a lot of night number 2 with some tremendous Super Sedan racing. Look at Harper, the Tasmanian state champ, on the high line. Goes up high, and that gives an opportunity for Johnny Leslie down low in turns 1 and 2. Bang! He takes second place, just like that.
Second place Leslie. How many times do we say second place Leslie? Johnny Leslie, for sure. The old veteran, always one of the favourites. You'll notice back in 4th spot now coming through the pack is Keith Sims in the Monaro, mate.
The Monaro? Yeah, and Les Light, of course, well, he races regularly in Queensland. He's actually from New South Wales, Darren.
Yeah, from Lismore, or close by to Lismore. But yeah, a lot of the Queenslanders, Lismore not being that far from up around Archerfield area, a lot of the boys race up that area.
Johnny Leslie looking very, very potent in this one. In fact, he came from the back mark, and this was commonplace on night number 1, I've got to say. Guys coming from well back in heat race grids and running absolutely sensationally well.
Yeah, Baker, we look at Leslie, G, Mchugh, a few guys came from a long way back. Nicola also came from a long way back in some of his heats.
We just saw earlier John Pine, breathtaking run from the back mark, and well, Peter Logue, he is serving notice. He came on the front row, actually spotted the advantage early to Hickman, but managed to regain and take a great heat race win over John Leslie, Jared Harper, Keith Sims, Greg Smith, and Frankie Armstrong in 6th place. We move to heat number 12. A lot of heat races, Darren.
Certainly isn't. There is a smart looking car, the Bow Repairs car of Des Corns on the outside of row 2. Darren Kane will be one to watch for sure off the front, and Revan Ron.
Revan who?
Revan Ron in the Auto 1 car sits in second now.
I'm going to get a phone call, I know it, after saying that. That was tongue-in-cheek, Ronnie, trust me. In that beautifully presented Auto 1, a bit of commotion further back. Tanya Smith, I love the look of that race car as well, Darren.
Problems too for G-Force Jones. Stephen Jones in the G-Force Engines car 74. As they went down the back, Tanya just clouded into the rear, no fault of hers. Jones got it a bit sideways, and from memory, the diff was completely shattered in the 74 car.
That's dreadful luck. Ron Pine, I guess for a long time, ran his own self-constructed chassis. He's decided to go aftermarket this year, or elsewhere.
Went to South Australia, and Speedway Autos have built him a car this year, running the Grand Prix type body style. There's a great looking Commodore in 2nd spot of Des Corn from the with Bow Repair sponsorship on the side. Now
I've got to say, viewers, Darren had to clench his teeth as he said that. He doesn't like giving Holds any opportunity as well, but in the meantime, look at this again. Lead and position changes all over the racetrack here. Talking about that beautifully presented Bow Repairs machine. Isn't that a sexy looking number? And yeah, it's a Holden, but more importantly, the professionalism, of course. You've got to do your sponsors justice. And you can see the 2 cars on screen right now, Darren, are doing exactly that, giving sponsors plenty of promotion.
That was one thing I noticed too on the night of the Australian titles. There was some beautifully presented cars, like a lot of work and a lot of professionalism. Tanya Smith's car is absolutely spectacular outside, and also all the dash instrumentation, everything is just beautifully presented.
Absolutely. It was deserves to be at a auto salon, to be honest, a lot of these race cars. Particularly the start of the night, of course, after they've had clay flung against them in absolute racing fury. Their demeanour can change ever so slightly, Darren, but certainly at the start of the night, a lot of them were just, you've got to take them to an auto show and just be absolutely proud about the machinery you've presented, because they were, as you said, absolutely beautiful. And talking about movers, Wayne Randall. He's moved forward. He came from the back row as well, again moving forward. Again, it's obviously a tribute to a great racing surface, and more importantly, the drivers respecting each other on a racetrack and racing cleanly, to this point at least anyway.
Yeah, for sure, and some pretty hard charges up the front there. Des Corn, Ron Pine, some pretty big names. Wayne Randall, the nice man of Super Sedan Racing, sitting in third spot at the moment in the Ian Botcher sponsored car.
Revving, Ronnie Pine hasn't really laid down anything in any sort of loud terms tonight so far. Well, he's turning that around now. He's got a very, very handy race lead in this heat race. Having said that, he did come from position 3, so he was probably expecting to have a good result in this heat race. A great battle further back. How good is this racing? Wayne Randall battling with absolute gusto with Des Corn. Great stuff.
Yeah, teammate Darren Cave also back in this heat, but Des Corn relegated back to third now. Reverend Ron, though, the track looking very, very slick as they came out of turn 4. A bit of black Tyre, I could say, if I could say that.
Yeah, you could say that. But obviously, though, on the cushion, you can look on screen right now, viewers up high, there's still a lot of debris and clay. So obviously, this track's going to have two sort of temperaments. If you run it down on the slicker hard-packed section, it is going to be exactly as you say, Darren, slick. If you decide to put it up top, as you can see here, put it up high, and she starts to get a bit rough.
Bit of wheel work from Wayne Randall there, so plenty of wheel work.
You notice his elbows really moving, couldn't you, in that car?
For sure. You notice Ron too, as they went down the back straight, off the gas a fair bit, the flames coming out of the exhaust, and just idles the car into the turn and then blasts back out the other side.
Ron Pine sending a clear message as she comes out of turn 3 and 4. He's here to win the championship yet again. A great result for Revan Ronnie Pine over second, Wayne Randall, third, Desi Corn. Good crowd in, and I've got to say, it was very surprising or great to see such a good crowd considering the weather conditions.
Oh yeah, for sure. The rain always scares a lot of people off, but when you've got a Super Sedan Australian title, there's only one place you want to be.
Yeah, a lot of kids. That is Speedway in a nutshell. Families, mums, dads and the kids, and they're enjoying the action. On night number 1 of the Daihatsu V8 Super Sedan Championship, we move through now to heat number 13. Lionel West, John Leslie, Michael Pogorski, Alan Baker, keep an eye on him. Barry Towers, Chris Sims in this one. Further back, Bert Bosbergen started in position number 11. Oh, a bit of trouble through turns 3 and 4.
The big don't argue from Alan Baker. West tried to stay on the outside. It's not really the place to be. Now he's on the outside of Chris Sims. Here comes the flying ambulanceman, Bert Bosbergen.
Yes, the ambulance driver. Now, what is it with you guys? Can't you drive enough on racetracks? Of course, my co-commentator for this one is a limousine driver. Would you care to touch on that for us? You got a business up there in Newcastle?
Yeah, I have. I've got a stretch limousine business in Newcastle, and we've made a few trips down to PCR for the $50,000 to win sprint car race. And the 6 travellers that were with me absolutely loved it.
Can you name them? Are they Speedway identities?
No, they're not identities. They're major fans. So we all rocked down and got here in around about an hour and a half, which is a pretty big feat in a 7.2 metre long Cadillac.
Oh, sensational. John Leslie takes the race lead, and obviously having a very promising start, as he so often does. A lot of people describe him as the Brooke Tatnell of Super Sedan Racing, or the Stephen Graham of Speed Car Racing. As we've touched on plenty, he is the perennial bridesmaid, but a great battle further back. Bert Bosberg, and it's his turn. He came from position 11, and he's now up to third, I think. Great run.
Great effort from Bosberg and Baker. Oh, problems for Baker.
Alan Baker parks the Ford on the back straight, car number 32. He is going to be thoroughly cheesed off with that result. What happened there? Just got the wrong section of the track through there and lost
just a bit slick, and gave it a gutful and spun it out backwards, but he's making his way from the back now as he makes his way around Neil Wasson, and will tuck on the inside who looked like Barry Towers will be his next object down the back.
Yeah, just having a look on screen here, car number 14 just touching on him. And look at the panel work there, car number 35.
Frankie Armstrong,
goodness. Very, very exciting stuff in this heat race. Heat number 13 of the Daihatsu V8 Super Sedan Championship of Parramatta City Raceway. Big fields and big Tyre racing, and Big Bad Bert. Gee, he's got the light flashing on car number 4. He's there to collect the emergency patient and take him to the ER in very quick order, I'd say. He's running it hard.
And 2 back already is, there he is in picture now, Alan Baker from the back of the pack in the Stein Earth Moving Falcon.
What a run from Alan Baker. In fact, you could see the eye colour in his helmet visor, and they were distinctly red. He's pretty fired up, Darren, as you'd expect, I guess, after losing the machine earlier on.
Certainly, but all he has to do now, this was his front running, he started out of position 3, he's came from the back in his other heats. All he has to do now is finish. So, barring nothing silly, he now sits in position 3.
Lionel West, I guess, just illustrating again, if you go up on the Marbly section of the racetrack. Oh, Alan Baker, beautiful low groove pass through some lap traffic there. He is hooked up big time.
Meanwhile, Johnny Leslight has cleared out.
Absolutely. Very, very impressive performance.
I must say with Johnny Leslight, he's either he's always first, second or third in most of the club shows as well. He's just so experienced and so clever. He's very rarely out of the action, but and a very fair driver too.
One thing I've got to say then, Kathy, is that if he's like that, he's always going to be in the reckoning in season point scores, isn't he? He's very consistent.
Oh, for sure. Between John Leslight and Wayne Randall, probably 2 of the most consistent drivers in on the east side.
On the east side, as Ali G would say. Yep, some great racing from Alan Baker. That Falcon is absolutely honked up big time. Michael Bosnowski looks like he's just trying to finish and get some valuable finishing points. We're just about at the conclusion of this heat race. And Alan Baker's moved up to 2nd place, if you don't mind, after restarting at the back of the bus. Johnny Leslight leads it. Bert Bosberg and Darren's holding 3rd place.
Yeah, Bert's run top 3 in all his heats so far, from what I can gather.
Yeah, we're back at Parramatta City Raceway. We're still at Parramatta City Raceway, and yep, a very healthy crowd in attendance tonight. And we move forward, and they're launched into turns 1 and 2, heat number 14. And now, Cave man, you were scheduled to be in pole for this one, but obviously, as you touched on, you had to withdraw. What a dreadful situation there for you, mate.
Yeah, for sure. I've actually never started up any further than 8, so I would have been wrapped to start on pole.
Now, just talk about your speedway pedigree, Darren. What have you raced before Super Sedans, and how long have you been involved in the sport? I guess, like a lot of us, were you born into it?
Yeah, I was actually born into sidecar racing on Tyre and on the dirt.
Into what racing?
Sidecar racing.
Oh, you're a brave man.
And my dad was a sidecar racer forever, and I only got hooked up into sedans because actually Wade Onge's father-in-law had one for sale, and I went, yeah, well, I'll have a go at that. It's got plenty of horsepower. They're hard to drive. You have no downforce or anything like sprint cars. They're hard to keep a hold of. They're a pretty good race type setup, and I don't think they cost a real lot of money to run a budget race team.
Now we're just having a look at the action on track here. Keith Sims is leading healthily over Kevin Pert. Further back it's a Sims benefit. Dennis Sims racing hard as well, but on the high line, very, very impressive as well. Car number 56, Peter Garrett. Beautiful run on the high side.
Yeah, good run from Garrett. Bernie Roberts there on the inside in the car line 44 car, right on the back of Sims. Bernie Roberts seems to have a pretty tight car as they go into that turn.
Certainly does. In a Super Sedan, is it, I know ideally you'd like to have the setup done absolutely peachy perfect, but is it better to have the car too loose or too tight? Is there a preference?
I really haven't got a preference either way, but I suppose you'd rather have it loose if there was a fence, because if the car's tight, it's evidently going to want to drift to the wall as you come out. So if it's loose, you can probably drive the car a bit better on the throttle.
What adjustments can you make to a Super Sedan, Darren, to dial the car in if she's too loose or too tight? What are some of the things you can do to the race car?
People have a lot of, while the car's actually driving there now in a race series, they have a weight jacker, which they can adjust the weight from one side of the car to the other. You have a brake bias on major problems down the bottom turn for Gartner and Peter Garrett.
The two protagonists we're just talking about, and they've come together big time. David Gardner, that beautifully presented car number 18, he'll be very disappointed. Hopefully he can restart. I doubt that car number 56, Garrett, will be able to, unfortunately. You're touching on some of the things, the weight jacking and that sort of stuff?
Yeah, certainly. You also have a brake bias, so if the track starts slicking off a little bit, you can adjust your brakes so that the car will pull up a lot easier as you go into the turn, or pull up a lot straighter, therefore you don't get sideways. But apart from that, in the pit area, the boys can adjust your stagger. In the rear, of course, they have spring and shock adjustments. A lot of these cars have a lot of adjustments that they can make.
Great racing here further back. It looks like that Gardner was able to restart in car number 18. That's good news for David Gardner. A South Aussie in the Speedway Autos Pontiac machine.
Keith Sims doing a good job. Always fast, Keith Sims. Gets in a little bit of strife every now and then, but always a fast driver. Always up the front of the pack. He'll be someone to watch out for. He's been making good inroads all night.
Certainly has. In fact, I've got to say, we had a lead-up promotion at Westfield Parramatta in the lead-up to this, to the second night of racing, which of course was held later in the season. And gee, when he started that car, of course, because these cars do have starter motors in most cases, if not all, and he drove it into the main shopping centre complex, and the shoppers and the patrons are absolutely in awe of it, and the methanol just wafted Westfield, and it was a great achievement for Speedway, I reckon, Darren, to have that smell of methanol in a place where, I guess, tens of thousands of people visit every day. It's great.
People would have been that excited they had tears in their eyes.
Just about, mate, just about. In fact, I was right near it, but it sounded awesome, and congratulations to him as well. Car number 82, Keithy Sims over Kevin Pertner. David Gardner, third place. What a run from David Gardner after having that altercation earlier on. And fourth was Dennis Sims. We move through to heat number 15. Still night number 1, and look, talking about slick, it is very slick coming out of 4, isn't it?
Oh, for sure. The track's very slick now. But I found at PCR it's always slick out of 4. For some reason, just turn 4 seems to slicken up more than any of the other turns.
And looking at Frankie Doe's bunny hopping coming out of turn number 4, managed to regather the Ron Mitchell automotive machine. Look at that, 3 wide through turn 4. Great racing, Michael G. He's exciting.
The car looks great too. But Michael G now sits in third. There's Frankie Doe's now. Tries a bit of a move on the inside. Didn't pull off this time.
Yeah, Kemble Aylett, the Tasmanian, started on pole, has got a battle on his hands. Great racing here from the Super Sedans.
Excellent stuff from Aylett and Doze. They come together out of the turn.
As they say in Days of Thunder, Robert's racing, boy, and there's a bit of that going on here, but it's done with respect and class. This is fantastic stuff.
Both boys slow each other up that time as they came out. Watch for Michael G and John Pine. I noticed the predominantly yellow Pennzoil car back in about 4th spot.
And he came out of position number 7. Peter Lowe came out of position number 8. I wonder how Peter Perfect's going in that Victorian machine, car number 26.
Awesome race. These pair have been side by side for the last 4 laps.
I know Frankie was very excited and was wrapped to it. He said the tow over, the days of travel was all worthwhile after this race battle in this heat race. He said it was just so much fun. It made it, totally worthwhile. Oh, there's trouble for Aylett. He's had to pull off. And Frankie Doze has inherited the race lead, and a beautifully presented machine as well. Got that PPG paintwork absolutely turned up a tree.
Little puff of smoke from Aylett. It might have been a tyre as they went down the back. Track pretty rough at the moment due to the rain earlier, so could have popped a tyre as they came down in the last turn.
Yellow light situation on track, and Frank Doze may not realise, I'm sure he is fairly aware, that John Pine, Michael G, Tony Barclaymore, Peter Lowe, how's that for a list of drivers? Tanya Smith's got a bit of trouble, manages to regather it though. In fact, I know she got stuck on the water on the infield there, and it took her a fair while. In fact, you look on screen now, Darren, you can see the inside tyres are quite wet.
It's a great looking race car, the Danny Smith made car. Tanya, her last season actually, I hear, due to, she does have some back pain, so retiring from the sport, which is a great loss to the sport. She's a very, very nice lady and a good driver. Yeah,
that is a shame. She's very promotable, speaks very well, and obviously they turn out some beautiful race cars. Anyway, great racing. Frank Doze up high, running the cushion. And John Pine, he races 11 tenths every time he hits the racetrack. He is exciting. Oh, a bit of contact, but all's okay. Car number 63, is it? Tony Barclaymore, really racing hard here. Great stuff.
Barclaymore have to be one of the major dark horses. But serving it up to John Pine. Still up front, we've got Michael G, Frankie Doze, to go back through to what looked like Loeb that time around, and then back to John Pine.
John Pine, the man from Curry. Whereabouts are you in Newcastle exactly? You're in the actual Newcastle area directly?
Raymond Terrace, actually, not far from the centre, around about 30 k's from the centre of Newcastle.
Raymond Terrace, of course, pretty much where, well, quite a few people I know in the sport reside, and, obviously there must be something in the water up there.
Yeah, it's methanol.
Methanol. And great action here from Michael G. He's inherited the race lead. Frank Doze did well to hang on to second. Oh, that car setup's looking a little awry right now. Maybe what can change during a race in the handling of the car?
Oh, as you can see with John Pine, he just come out of the turn and got on the gas. Car wanted to push up high, but especially in a feature race, the track can change considerably from being not a bad racetrack to becoming quite rough. Of course, it's always going to go slick. There's no racetrack that won't go slick by the end of the night.
Absolutely. Michael G, though, very, very impressive. Comes out of turn number 4 in that Metro Nissan machine. Crosses the checkered flag in a commanding drive. Well done to Michael G. And John Pine came from well back. We move through now to heat number 16. 18 heats, if you don't mind, on the first night. A busy night, let me tell you, the commentators, Darren, are pretty tired by the end of it. I bet the drivers even more so.
Oh, for sure. But I think it's harder talking than it is driving sometimes.
Yeah, I'm told I don't have too much trouble dribbling, so I guess maybe I don't know what that feels like, but I know what you mean. On a serious note, yeah, it can be quite a hard task. Jared Harper, the Tasmanian state champion, has made the journey across the Bass Strait and is racing with the best in the business and has got a handy race lead. Oh, gee, that car went awful in turns 3 and 4, and that gives an opportunity for car number 36, Wayne Randall.
Car's actually bottoming out there as they came out of turn 4. Randall with a very soft car lifts the inside front wheel as they come out of turn 2.
Okay, Jared Harper started on pole. Ron Pine started at position number 9, and look at the Auto 1 machine. He is moving forward with a capital F.
Certainly, Ronnie Pine always been very, very hard to beat. Backed it up with a double header actually 2 years ago before Nicola. So won Australian titles back to back.
He's very quietly spoken, isn't he?
Oh, just such a shy man.
He doesn't like to talk up his chances either. Sorry, Ron, I had to give you a bit of a bake, mate. One of the colourful characters in our sport thrives on colourful characters, and Ron is that and more. As they come out of turn number 4, and gee, impressive run by Jared Harper. I guess he had pole, he would have been considering a likely candidate to win this race. In fact, all the Tasmanians have beautiful machinery, don't they?
Yeah, for sure. All the Tasmanian cars look great. All the cars look great. There's not a bad looking car out there, but by the end of the weekend it might be a little bit different. So a few boys getting into a little bit of carnage when the big bucks are up in the feature. Jared
Harper just settling down nicely. Mark Giancola's in this one, running about 4th place at the moment. Started out position number 5. Wayne Randall, sorry.
Rev and Ron actually making some ground now on Randall sitting in second. You see Ron's changed from the top line now, coming down to the lower line. And the car seems to be working really good, the Auto 1 car 72.
Robert Carey, car number 2. Do you know much about Robert?
Robert's been around a long time, long time. His son Joel Carrick is also running his car from last season. Unfortunately, Robert lost his Newcastle sponsorship when the track closed, and now he's struggling a bit more than what he used to be. But a fast competitor, also a little bit fiery.
They just talking about car number 2. He's being dispatched as lap traffic here. The wheel hiking from Wayne Randall. Look at that through turn number 2.
Yeah, good stuff. Randall right on the back of Harper this time around. Pretty hard to pass at the moment though. Not a great deal of traction. As you can see, the track very slick and shiny as they come out of turn 4, and Revan Ron is sitting right on the back of Randall.
Oh, look at that exit speed coming out of turn number 2. Just mashed the gas pedal, didn't he?
Yeah, too much horsepower there, and Randall made a mistake. Very rare to see Randall ever make a mistake.
The track, in fact, you can almost see the cars reflected in that slick section coming out of turn 4. In fact, turns 3 and 4 are plenty more slick, as you touched on, Darren, than turns 1 and 2. And that's quite surprising, as you say. I mean, you look on screen again, coming out of turn 4, very, very slick coming out of 4.
Oh, certainly. The car's starting to get on high revs. You see the black and white. Reverend Ron comes into second spot, Ronnie Pine. Third spot goes to Wayne Randall, Mark Giancola and Rob Carrick. takes out the 5th spot, so it's good for Rob just to keep travelling around there with a little bit of carnage.
Okay, we've got Brims, Amato, Watts, Mackenzie, Mchugh, Kane, Nicola, the reigning champ, Terry White, Ward and Desi Korn out of position number 10 as they're unleashed. And this is going to be a whirling battle into turns 1 and 2.
Oh, this will be a wild race. You see it 3 wide down the back straight. Tim Watts on the inside, Brims, and then on the outside it looked like the 59 of Amato.
Gee, those door numbers really, they do very nearly throw you, don't they, Darren?
Well, we have 7, 7 and 7. There's that many 7s. Most popular number is?
Lucky 7. Anyway, great racing action. Tim Watts, great to see him back on track. He came to grief earlier in an earlier heat race. But that car number 59, that threw me earlier, that number, but good to see Danny Amato striding his stuff. He doesn't want a tomato this heat race, does he?
Not at all. Darren Cave is looking really strong. The car's straight. There's Mchugh on the outside of Watts as they go down the back.
Great racing from Jamie Mchugh. He is an excitement machine, no doubt about it. An absolute stand on the gas sedan racer. Oh, Tim Watts has a bit of trouble down the main straight. Not sure what happened there. Obviously something not right with the car.
The car started to get a little bit sideways, and I know Tim's on a very low budget, so him and his father are the only pit crew they have, and they certainly don't like to damage the car.
In the meantime, Wayne Brims has had a very impressive night so far, Darren.
Oh, excellent night for Wayne Brims. Should put him right up the front come feature race time. Mchugh also doing well in 3rd spot. Amato in that great looking blue and white car sits in 2nd.
As you said, the track has probably ensured they've strung out a little more. Still seeing some passes for positions throughout the racetrack, but I think earlier on in the night we saw some tremendous racing while the track still had a heap of moisture in it. So, but still, exciting stuff further back in position. Actually, look at Mick Nicola, the Victorian, the reigning Australian champion, started out position number 7 in this heat race, has moved forward to 4th place. And he's always a guy, he's a thinking man's racer. He'll try and put that car where the others aren't and try and make it happen. Oh,
for sure. And as I said earlier, Mick seems to run the slick tracks really, really well. Just gets the car positioned for on tar surfaces like that where the track's a bit shiny. The car seems to perform so much better than everybody else. There's Nicola underneath Amato. Darren Cave sitting there too on the back of Nicola. He is always a danger, Darren Cave.
Darren Cave. Oh, some very, very willing action between Mchugh and Nicola. I remember the crowd really leaping into the action in this heat race between those two protagonists. And look at the battle, side by side, great racing here. Oh, wheel to wheel, fender to fender, terrific stuff.
Nicola, big, huge, don't argue last time round in that section. Mchugh's fighting back as well, and Darren Cave still trying on the back of Mchugh.
What was that you're saying about no passing?
Yeah, no passing. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, that's it, great racing. Jamie Mchugh, you think, I don't know, I don't think he's done with yet as they go through turns 3 and 4. Nicola up high, Mchugh down low. Some great racing. I think, though, Nicola's probably just got enough in the setup department. Who knows? As they come out of turn number 2. Great stuff. Look at this. They're still battling at it.
You were saying, Dino, as Mchugh sits up on the inside of Nicola. Nicola runs out on the cushion.
What a race. 1 lap remaining. Mchugh and Nicola. That is the focus of our attention. Mchugh down low. Nicola up high. You going to put a wager on this one, Darren?
Is this feature race time already? I think Mchugh will probably end up in front of Nicola as they come on the main straight. But
oh, what a race! Fantastic stuff. First to Wayne Brims, but Jamie Mchugh and Mick Nicola. Congratulations! What a fantastic heat race. Darren Cave in 4th. A good race as Darren Cave touched on my co-commentator. And Desi Korn in 5th place came from position number 10. Good result for him. We move to heat number 18. Gotta like the man in position number 1, the little transport car, number 46, Brad Smith.
I think the last race was just Wayne Brims' victory was overshadowed by the action happening behind, but good drive from Brims in that type of company.
Absolutely, and as he touched on, looking very, very good in points for the conclusion to this championship on the following event. We've got Brad Smith, Steve Jones, Kimmy Cottrell. Great to see him make it back out on track. Barry Leah, Gary Pagel, Frank Cross is out there. Greg Smith and a big field of Super Sedans, Darren.
Yes, we won't find Steve Jones in this. Car's back in the trailer. It should be a good race, but I'd say we'll probably see Smith clear out with this one.
Brad Smith has caught a lot of people by surprise. He was telling me he used to be a race car fabricator for a V8 supercar team. So he certainly knows how to assemble race cars and do it properly. As we've got one turning around in turn number 2, involving car number 97, Gary Pagel. And also car number 27, Bill Miller. He's had a wild night. Dare I say it, Wild Bill.
The Gary Pagel, they did a great job earlier on. He had a major hit in the first heat down in turn 3, and as I said, they actually rebuilt the whole front of the car, and there you see it's still travelling back of the pack for Pagel.
Yeah, you may just notice on screen, viewers, that there's a little bit of a mist coming across the camera lens again. It had actually started to drizzle by the time the final heat race started. Thank goodness we got it in. That's the main thing. In fact, you can see quite clearly there the misting rain on the camera lens. So obviously that's the last thing you need when the track's baked down slick and hard down low. Just have a bit of just drizzling water on top of the surface. Makes it even more slippery. Oh,
for sure, especially when it's so slick like it is now. It'd be just like racing on slicks.
Some great racing again for position. Kim Cottrell doing a tremendous job. I honestly thought we wouldn't see him back out there tonight, but obviously got a very hard-working crew.
Yeah, and sitting in third, Frank Cross. And fourth spot is Greg Smith, as Greg Smith makes a move on the outside. Now, I think that is probably the place to be with the rain coming down. Right out on the cushion seems to be a good spot to be.
Yeah, Greg Smith in the church air conditioning Falcon. Oh, it's another Ford, is it? Now, some great racing here from the Super Sedans. The V8 tin top strutting their stuff. And going to turns 1 and 2 once again. Greg Smith, he's determined to try it up there, isn't he?
It's a good move actually from Smith, because up the top there it's not as greasy as what it seems to be down the bottom where Frank Cross is. You see Smith now coming up onto the back of Cottrell, and the car working really good up high. I'd like to see what you're going to do next year, Dino, when there's rumours that there may be a Magna-bodied Super Sedan.
A Magna-body. Now, I'm trying to remember the guy in Western Australia who used to experiment with some weird and wonderful Super Sedan configurations. A guy that ran a rotary. I can't remember the name of the guy. I'm going to get told off big time for that one. I should remember the guy's name. But there are a few guys like that that like to think outside the square.
Oh, for sure. We actually were looking at running a Volvo body next year, the two-door C70 Volvo, which is a terrific looking car. But Wayne Randall used to run an RX-7 years ago. It was very, very pacey little car.
Car number 43 came to grief in turns 3 and 4, car number 43. And you also could see some of the rain coming across the venue at the moment. So these guys are doing a tremendous job considering the prevailing conditions on track at the present time. Brad Smith, he is classy. No matter what happens this weekend, of course, the result would be well known by many by this time, Darren. He certainly served notice that he's one of the better Super Sedan racers in the country.
Oh, for sure. And deserving of pole position in the feature, no doubt. He's done very, very well. Greg Smith, really impressed with Greg Smith in this heat. He's come from a little way back and now sits in third.
Doing a tremendous job. Oh, gee, a real push coming out of turn number 4 for Kim Cottrell. And some good battle further back from minor places, I guess, in these heat race formats. Every position is absolutely invaluable for the final wash-up, just to make it go, I guess, especially.
For sure. I feel, even though you can drop your worst heat, I feel you still have to finish every heat to the best that you can without getting in too much trouble. We see now that the track seems to be drying out a little bit more, and Frank Cross has come back from behind Smith, so the top line's not working, and the bottom line's starting to work a little bit now.
Frank Cross has done well. He started on the outside of the third row, and he's moving forward, pressuring Kim Cottrell for the runner-up position. Has taken it. A great result. First to Brad Smith, second to Frank Cross, then we had Kim Cottrell, Gary Pagel, Greg Smith. And that rounded out night number 1.
Thanks race fans for coming to Parramatta City Raceway tonight in this our silver anniversary of speed. To make sure you continue to assault standing and please...
Okay, we move through now to night number 2. And Darren Cave, he's the man with me here. I hope you're enjoying the coverage here from Parramatta City Raceway, the Daihatsu V8 Super Sedan Championship. Enjoying it so far, mate?
Yeah, it's great.
How's my body odor? Are you coping?
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, not a problem at all. I think that new Chanel number 5 you're wearing's quite nice.
Just touch on, in fact, you've got a number of interesting business interests. You're talking about you've got a new race clothing concern started up with your lovely lady.
We have. We've found out that it was very difficult to find form-fitting clothes to fit ladies. They always got polo shirts and that type of thing, so we've now invented a range of clothing called Pit Bitch. which is a little bit sort of out there, but everyone seems to love it. And we'll have our website up soon, so...
Dare I say www.pitpitch.com.au.
.au.
Oh, I got the AU on there as well, and we move through now to our heats now, Darren. I don't have the grids here with me, but I know there was some combined fields in that as well, as you know, obviously, as you touched on, because there was only 20 cars locked in for sure in the championship final. Obviously, some of the guys didn't come back. We still had nearly 40 cars, so I guess that's tribute to a lot of the competitors.
Yeah, as it was, a lot of the guys were pretty badly destroyed from the first night. And of course, Stephen Jones was one. I was another with engine problems, but a few of the guys who didn't rate highly in the points bracket and who had to travel from South Australia, Western Australia, Frankie Doe's one of them. It was a long way to come back, and you got no hope of getting into the feature, which I think was just a bit of a mistake.
Yeah, Peter Garrett there looking very strong. In fact, it's quite funny, of course, the original night of action, which you've just viewed on screen, was from back in February. We're now moving forward to April. And some of the libraries and some of the cars have changed. And Darren, the other thing I heard in the pits, especially coming to night number 2, as people will see shortly, there was some pretty wild racing on night number 2. And we should have been warned, because there was the Victoria title just early to this, and apparently there was a lot of spectacular carnage down there. Pretty wild times for the Super Sedan Stampede at that time.
Yeah, somebody must have said, look, there's $20 if you win, because there was some major carnage night 2, that's for sure. Wayne Randall, have a look at the track compared to night 1. The track's looking schmick.
Yeah, early on in the night, you can see there's even a bit of water on the infield. Now, I know what our track curator decided to do early on, particularly with our sprint car competitors, Darren. They like to plough into the infield and do a bit of the lawn mowing. And they decided that they'd dig a bit of a cut into the inner edge of the racetrack and put a bit of water down there. And it worked quite well. You didn't find too many competitors getting down there too often. And I guess another thing they'll look at doing down the track is probably putting some curbing or something down there to try and discourage it, because when you got guys racing on the racetrack, you'd agree that definitely makes for better racing.
Oh, for sure. But I still feel too, if the official thinks that someone's been cutting the corners, a caution flag will probably come out first of all. That happens in supercars. You get a caution if you jump the
ripple strip.
But and if they persist and keep doing it, I think that 2 caution flags is probably enough, and then let them race till the end of the race, and then when they get back to the pit area, you drop 2 spots. So I think that's probably the easiest way to go about it, rather than stop the race.
Okay, that was it, the conclusion to that heat race. I actually missed the winner, but I know there were some very strong competitors back there. And we move through to our next heat race, Jamie Mchugh. Got to love that dose of Australiana on that race car, don't you?
Oh, for sure. Jamie Mchugh, new paint job for this year was with the purple and yellow for many years. The Miami Smash boys. Winner of last race was Wayne Randall.
Thank you very much, Darren Cave. I knew we hired him for a good reason. And big bad Bert Vosbergen made the return to Parramatta. Spoke to his son Craig Vosbergen, said he thoroughly enjoyed the action on night number 1. Races late model sedans in Western Australia pretty much exclusively now, but he said the Vosbergen family still have a passionate sort of fervour for super sedan racing, and great to see Bert make the return from, I guess, his Tasmania operations. He's got teams that located on opposite ends of the country, I guess, Kathy, Perth and Tasmania.
Oh, I suppose being an ambulance driver, people get sick everywhere, so you can chop and change jobs from one end of the country to the other. But Mchugh, absolutely, have a look at that. The inside front wheel has not touched the ground, and he's the fastest man on track at the moment. Bert Vosbergen seemed to get the setup wrong at the moment and was going backwards through the field. Yeah,
Des Corn looking fantastic. The Queenslander in the Monaro. The Monaro, mate. The Burrow Pairs Corn Bulk Haulage Sports Engines car number 62. Despite the sands of time elapsing between night number 1 and night number 2, Darren, that car still looks fantastic.
Have a look at the speed of Mchugh. As he comes out of the back turn, the front wheel is in the air and not even turning. So it's interesting to watch the front wheel halfway down the back straight, and it's sitting without turning at all. You can see the wheel stops as they come out of there and now hits the ground.
Oh, great racing from Jamie Mchugh. In fact, just to let everybody know, the points after night number 1, Brad Smith was top points on 100 points, tied with Johnny Leslight and John Pine, a 3-way tie. Alan Baker was 4th, Ron Pine was 5th, Peter Logue 6th. Jamie Mchugh, the man on screen right now, was 7th in points. Mick Nicola, the reigning champion, 8th, close enough if good enough. Jared Harper and Wayne Grimm round out the top 10. Wayne Randall and Mchugh 11th and 12th, and Bert Vosbergen in 13th place.
You see this time too, Smith's come from the back of the bus and sits in around about 4th spot at the moment. but it's still Corn. Mchugh seemed to catch Corn really quickly, but now hasn't been on to do anything about getting past the 62 Commodore.
You can see that the pack-down section of the track is still quite low. Obviously, this is still early in the racing night. We're waiting for the track to widen up a little bit, I suppose.
For sure. And Mchugh now, as they come up onto a lap driver, this might be something a little bit different. Mchugh nearly comes together with Corn last corner. Corn takes that one out from Mchugh. Third spot will go to Smith from Vosbergen.
Through, welcome to the Daihatsu V8 Super Sedan Championship from Parramatta City Raceway from season 2002-2003, and one of the star combatants, one of the I guess up-and-comers in sedan ranks, Darren Cave with me in commentary, and I hope you enjoy the action and some good racing on track already in this heat event right now.
Yeah, it looks like this will be a bit of an easy win for Ronnie Pine out in front. It looks like Harper sitting in second. Chris Sims, one of the Sims boys. It's actually two Sims brothers and one father that runs Super Sedan, so that's one very, very busy garage.
It certainly is. In fact, the cars do look very nice as well in terms of presentation. Certainly have attention to detail in that department, and they're passionate about having the Holden bodies on them as well. They certainly enjoy having that look about their race cars. Now, I'm going to touch on it, Darren. What is it between the Sims and the Pine clans? There certainly seems to be no love lost there at all.
Oh, I think it's just competitive nature of the two of them. Put it that way.
Mahatma Gandhi Cave, viewers, is with me here, very diplomatic. Maybe the United Nations could use him as, post-war Iraq time is upon us. But no, seriously, good racing going on. Robert Carey, car number 2. Obviously a very, very capable sedan driver.
Oh, certainly, as we see Robert Carey hook up with Chris Sims.
It's all happening here. Big lose for Robert Carey and Chris Sims. We get a race restart. That is dreadful luck.
I can't believe Robert just ran straight into the back of Chris Sims that time. And you'll notice tonight, Barclaymore on the first night was very competitive. Tonight, a little bit tentative. Sits back in 4th at the moment, but with only 5 cars in the field, there's no need to pull out the big ones just yet.
Certainly not. Great racing action, Revan, Ronnie Pine. Now, very surprising, of course, on night number 1, he did okay, but as we touched on in the point stand, he's probably not as high as we would have expected. He was probably the pre-event favourite. And 5th, yeah, you'd say that's pretty solid, but he wasn't spectacular. And after having a practice night the night before, you would have thought he would have dialed in that car quite nicely, but he said he was chasing the setup all night. In fact, I remember now, he didn't practice much the night before, and may sort of regretted that a little bit.
Yeah, I found actually, I find that practice can be a bit of it can sort of turn you the wrong way sometimes, because the track can change so much from one track to the other. Well, so that's the end of that heat with Ron Pine taking that one out from back to Harper.
Okay, we move forward to our next event here. And some smaller heat race fields, as we touched on before. They had to stick with their arrangements as far as the heat draws because of the point scenario. Made it quite interesting.
It was actually a shame that it happened that way. There was really nothing that could be done about it. But this time we see Michael G sitting in second. Neil Wasson in the 14 car doing quite a good job.
Yeah, some great racing here from the Super Sedans. The track, there's a bit of corrugations, a few ruts already developing out of turn number 4. We were looking at night number 1, Kathy, where it was going black and slick, but this time I think it's looking quite hooky and ruddy through turn number 4.
Oh, certainly. We notice Johnny Leslight, there's a big rut there on the left-hand side as Wasson runs through it, and now Armstrong. But Johnny Leslight doing a great job.
Johnny Leslight, can he do it? That was the question coming into night number 2. Was an equal points leader in the Super Sedan Championship coming into this night. And I wonder what, as we'll touch on later on, the racing gets pretty exciting here later on. I wonder the absence, do you think practices are important or not important, Darren? Even though, we were just talking about this earlier.
Yeah, personally, I don't find practice to be any advantage unless it's something the track's a little bit different. Whereas Murray Bridge, I think Murray Bridge, you must practice on that track because of the angle of the track. It's like a little velodrome, just to get the angle of the track right. But normal tracks like this, I think, if you've got your gearing right, I think you're pretty well right, because the track can change so much from, say, a Friday to a Saturday. If it's raining on the Friday and then Saturday it's really sunny, you've got a different track.
Absolutely. Murray Bridge, a lovely intimate venue. I've heard they've done a fair bit of changes too with the track surface, putting more clay to the track. Of course, Murray Bridge traditionally a bike racing track. And it's got a fair bit of banking as well. I think quite exciting potential for sedan racing and sprint car racing in that neck of the woods.
Well, for sure. Now they've extended it down into their pit area. Great pit facilities as well with power and water, and not quite as comparable as Kwinana, but still a really good track. And the people there are so friendly, and that's where the super sedans are going to next season for the Australian titles.
What is your favourite racetrack, Darren?
I'd have to say, for cars, I'd have to say PCR, but I haven't really raced anywhere to compare it to. But with bikes, I would say Murray Bridge was my favourite for sure, so I'm a bit of a fan of Murray Bridge. Okay, Johnny Leslie, very impressive earlier on. We move through now to yet another heat, and John Pine. Now, Luke Pine didn't race in the end on night number 2 for the reasons you illustrated before, and in fact used that car as a backup for John Pine. They found out they can use that car later on, but if he does change, he'll be inverted to the rear of whatever field he's in. This is actually the heat that we find out why the number 9 car was relocated to the pit area. You'll notice John's in the 9 car now, and Keith Sims sits in second. Now, we just talked about the rivalry between the competitive nature of these two men, Keith Sims and John Pine. You'll notice Dennis Sims sitting back further in the pack. Track not slicking off too quickly at the moment, especially through the straights and the turns. You can see, I mean, it is starting to slicken up ever so gradually, but considering we've run already several heat races on night number 2, the track is holding up quite well. And it's good to see Kim Cottrell made the long tow back to PCR. Yeah, and unfortunate for Kim, this heat tends to demise Kim Cottrell, unfortunately, at the end of the race. But I hate to spoil it for you first off, and I just felt so bad for Kim Cottrell to come all that way. But Keith Sims sits in second and John Pine in third on the outside line. Meanwhile, up front, it's Gartner has cleared out in the Bullet chassis. Doing a fantastic job, and look at the battle between John Pine and Simsy. Absolutely in full fury here. They're racing cleanly for the moment. Oh, look at John Pine, really aggressive coming out of 2. You see John very heavy on the brakes there, but just the car had too much momentum and just pushed into the side of the Keith Sims car. But this time Pine tries again on the outside. He tried the outside-inside move last time. Let's see what he does this time. Gee, look at Gartner, David Gartner, car number 18, the South Aussie, and I wonder what state champion he is, seeing he's from South Australia. I believe Bert Vosberger won that title this year. Yeah, there's that many number 1s compare with the number 7s. But notice a new paint job too. There's a start-finish line. You'll hear the crowd going a little bit wild in the background. Yeah, in fact, we've got some of that for the viewers here. There you go, a three-way tete-a-tete. We're talking about Kim Cottrell before. John Pine, and of course, car number 82. It's all happening at Parramatta, a three-way melee. It was after the start-finish line, and a little bit of competitive nature came into it. Unfortunately, that ruled out car 9 for the rest of the Australian titles. It also ruled out Kim Cottrell's purple Hoosier car. Unfortunately, bent the diff like a banana. Keith Sims soldiered on, as the Sims clan often do. And talking about the Sims clan, looks like car number 64, that would be none other than big Dennis Sims. Big but nice. Okay, Dennis, don't beat me up, please. But no, very, very colourful family, very passionate about their super sedan racing. There's 3 Simses on the track at the same time here. They combined the 2 heats. That's right. So we have Dennis Sims is running second there to Corn. That looks like Garrett in the 56 car. That's running correct. In third. Yeah, Darren Cave is on the pace. And, well, car number 56 has certainly been very, very threatening throughout the championship. Peter Garrett raced against him a fair bit, I'd suggest, Darren. Well, I've seen him race a lot. He's been around a long time, since I was a kid at Newcastle Speedway. But raced everything through from the Tiranas right the way through to the Commodores, and now he sits in what looks to be a Pontiac. Certainly is. Very, very good racing throughout the field. It looks like Jared Harper's made the return. Wayne Brims in car number 77. Keep an eye on that machine. Yeah, certainly. Brims did very, very well earlier on. He was sitting in the top 10, sitting actually in 10th position on points. I thought he would have been high, to be honest, Darren, because he was very impressive on the first night. Yeah, well, he must have failed in one of the heats that we haven't seen the result here. Problems there, it looks like, for the 80 car, and they were brought on an amber light. So you got thrown there, mate. Car number 80.
Car number 82.
Yeah,
The door and roof
82,
numbers.
82. I've called him 80 for years.
Oh, we know who you're talking about, mate. Here we go. 3 wide for the Miners. Is that Alan Baker? Certainly looks like it in that Stein earth-moving Falcon. Very aggressive.
Zips on the inside of Paddy Ward now, puts Frank Armstrong on the list. Paddy Ward fights back on the outside in the big Ford.
Now the track's starting to dial in quite nicely through the turn, starting to widening up, so you can start seeing competitors commit to either a low groove or a higher groove run on the racetrack. Great stuff.
Yeah, it looks like Frank Cross in front from Barclay Moore. There's Baker going around the outside now. Now Baker was sitting in 4th position on points after the first night, with Brad Smith, John Leslie and John Pine all on equal first points.
So every position will count big time here on night number 2 of the Daihatsu. That's who sponsored our V8 Super Sedan Championship. Oh, we got trouble further back.
Armstrong and Wasson.
Bad luck for those two. Now, the other contentious issue with Super Sedan racing sometimes is, Darren, that when your race restarts, sometimes they seem to regain their position, other times they don't. How do they interpret that as we see Alan Baker? Great move on the highline run through the Network 10 sponsored turn number 3 at PCR. Look at that. Awesome run.
Good move from Baker around the outside of Frank Cross in the 96 car. Is Barclay Moore about to try the same move on the outside of Cross as they go down the back straight? With it all depends, I suppose, on the official's decision, whether you go to the rear, whether you're the cause of the crash or of the stoppage of the race, I suppose. So mainly depends on the officials. And of course, officials, I'm sort of in support of a lot of officials. You've got 4 turns on the racetrack. You can't see every turn at the same time. So you can't always get it right. You know, look at the tennis, look at the football.
Yeah, look, he is the United Nations of Speedway. Definitely. No, well done, Darren, and I agree. I mean, a lot of these people are hard-working and willing volunteers who dispense of their personal time to support the sport they love. So it isn't as easy as sometimes people may think. In the meantime, Alan Baker honking it here at Parramatta.
Certainly, Baker, this is going to put him right up the top of the leaderboard. Currently sits in 4th on points. A win in this is certainly going to put him up around about 1 or 2 in the feature, providing that everybody else doesn't make too many positions, I suppose.
Gee, they're all strung out a fair bit at the moment. As much as we've seen in the championship so far, a car having trouble further back in the pack. Yellow lights.
Yeah, Frank Cross actually later back in the pack.
But a convincing heat race win to, well, normally car number 3, 32 for the championship. Alan Baker, great run. We move through to our yet another heat race. There's plenty of them, plenty of opportunity to move forward. Gee, you'd hate to be the 21st qualifier for the championship, wouldn't you?
Gee, you would.
Gee, you would. Speaking of golly gee, Michael G, car number 11. You like his chances. Ronnie Pine, a great high line pass through turn 2. Aggressive in turn number 3. Catches the infield, loses a bit of momentum, and that gives Michael G an opportunity to race back. Can he? No, he can't. Good start to this one.
Good stuff too from Tim Watts in the Beechwood Homes car 10. Now relegated back to 3rd. Amato about to put Tim Watts down another spot. Watch out for G now about to line up Reverend Ron in the Auto 1 car 72.
Ron Pine in the Auto 1 sponsored machine. Of course, Auto 1 sponsors of Parramatta. Oh, wheel hiking big time from Revy, Ron Pine. And he came to me this night and said, Dean, I'm pretty sure this will be my last night of racing, but it's since turned out he is going to race again this year.
That's a shame. I thought he would have said, Dean, it's my last time of racing. I'm putting Darren Cave in the Auto 1 car. That would have been nice.
Oh, that car lacks for very little, as you would be acutely aware of. Beautiful piece of machinery. And he knows how to steer it pretty damn nicely as well.
He certainly does. His son Clayton is a very, very good kart runner and wanted to stay with the Tyre, which is probably a good move as far as if you want to get into V8 supercars and that type of thing go. A lot more money, of course, but Clayton, a really good steerer. Had to run in the Smith & Woods speed car team for a season there.
How did he go?
Quite good, actually. Quite good. And as we see from now, Adam Clark has been running the Smith & Woods team before going through to sprint cars.
Yeah, now some of these heats from viewers are very, very short because they had a formula where if there was a 5-car field, they'd run 6 laps. If there was a 7 or 8-car field, they'd add 1 lap as to the car count. So I think that pretty much wraps up a very commanding performance in that heat race, at least by Ronnie Pine.
I was just wondering what that wheel was doing there on the infield, rolling down to the pole line.
Looks like that race may have been declared anyway, but as you can see, when you've got these smaller heat race fields, for example, this race on the track right now, It'd be looking at 5 cars, probably a 6-lapper. So 6 laps of fury from the Super Sedans. Gartner has a bit of trouble coming out of 4.
There's some pretty good races in this field. Les Light, Graham Cowboy Lilford in the Tri-Steel car 34, who has been around forever, raced Grand Nationals, raced sedans, now Super Sedans. Have a look at this race as they go down to turn 3. Gartner. Then we've got, looks like Smith on the outside, now takes up second.
That little transport, the top points man, Brad Smith on the high line. And he was fantastic on this night. Look at him on the high line run, racing clean and smooth. Fantastic racing from the Tasmanian Brad Smith. Brilliant job.
Small field of 5 cars, but what a race. You see Bernie Roberts in the Carlisle Mufflers 44 sitting at the back behind Gartner. But Smith, what an effort. Come from around about grid 5. Les Light sits in second, back to Cowboy Lilford and Gartner.
Absolutely, Graham Wilford, another beautifully presented machine. Oh, makes a bit of race contact with Gartner. They managed to both recover, or do they? Yes, they do. In fact, that was a great job by Graham Wilford to recover that car number 34 Tri-Steel sponsored machine.
Dosey Do, your partner, Dino.
Dosey Do. Oh boy.
Pull that out of the barn dance, Dave.
Grab your partner and do the Dosey Do. In the meantime, car number 83. What do you reckon of his chances in the championship event? Obviously, history will tell us he was very competitive.
For sure. And he was little known when they came in, but certainly known now. The little transport, Brad Smith from Tasmania.
Yeah, Brad Smith, very, very strong. And there you have it, a great result for him.
Now, car owner John Nesbitt, the car owner of Graham Lilford's car, informed me afterwards that the car was overheating badly. And after 6 laps, it got very, very hot.
As we can see, a bit of footage with the 2-seater, the Gary Rush 2-seater sprint car. Now, you've got to go in this thing.
That's awesome. That's awesome. It is the coolest thing I've ever done in my whole life. Thanks to Gary and Wade Onger for arranging a drive for me while I sat behind Gary. And my biggest call is, Gary Rush beat me by about a foot.
You can take that to your grave.
Yes, and I'll live there. I'll remember that till I die for sure. It's brilliant.
Yeah, not too many people come out with anything but a cheesy grin on their face. In fact, Wade Onger himself has actually commentated in this car, and I hear that he actually said a few things he'd rather forget, but who can blame him?
Was it more like, ah?
Oh, beep, I believe. But I don't blame him. I mean, that thing is a ride on the wild side. That shaver engine in that 2-seater's got the best of everything. So definitely the full experience.
Speaking of the best of everything.
Best of everything. We got it all at Parramatta City Raceway. Great crowd in attendance. Kids waving their checkered flags. Great atmosphere. On night number 2, the make-up date for the Daihatsu-sponsored V8 Super Sedan Championship. And here is your feature race. And the lineup for you. Out of 1, Brad Smith. Out of 2, John Leslie. Then we had Ron Pine out of 3. Wayne Randall out of 4. Alan Baker out of 5. Michael G out of 6. Jared Harper out of 7. Jamie Mchugh out of 8. Des Corn out of 9. Keithy Sims out of 10. And I might get my co-commentator, guest commentator, to read out 10 to 20.
Wayne Brims out of 11, Bert Bosbergen out of 12, Frankie Cross out of 13, Peter Logue out of 14, 15 sits Robert Carrick, 16 Dave Gartner, 17 Mick Nicola, 18 Barclay Moore, 19 Bernie Roberts and John Pine in Luke's car out of 20.
Here we go, a big marauding packers, stunning Super Sedans make their way around the racetrack, and Brad Smith, I think he came into this final as the outright favourite. Ronnie Pine, what's happened to Ronnie?
Ron, flat outside right.
Oh, dreadful luck. He would have fancied his chances coming out of position number 3, and he said to me, Dino, I'm an unbackable favourite for the championship.
Yeah, well, and then unfortunately for Ronnie, 1 lap in the feature, and that's it.
That's it, so unbackable. I would have lost me money. I wonder if you would have given me a money-back guarantee with that wager, Darren. I don't know. I don't like my chances.
That's probably a big disadvantage with sedans. They don't stop like sprint cars. They don't have red light stoppages as often. And it's a shame for Ronnie Pine, because without a lap being done then, he probably could have went and put a front right on and got back into the feature. Have a look at the size of the cushion there. Nice close up with the cushion in that turn. Actually,
when I put this footage together, I love this shot because it really showed the cushion. And what is it like? Can you really feel the cushion when you bang that right rear against it on the racetrack?
Sure. Yeah, for sure. My car's fairly heavy, but some of these guys in the lighter cars, you'll find them, they'll hit the cushion, the car will rear up onto the back wheels.
Johnny Leslie, guess where he is at the moment? 2nd place. What can he do? In the meantime, Brad Smith, the Tasmanian. Alan Baker, I like where he's running at the moment in 4th place and looking menacing.
And the biggest problem, though, the cars that seem to be working earlier on don't tend to work as well later on. So you find some of the cars that are going backwards in the field, when the track starts to slicken off a bit, they'll probably come on a little bit better. Look at Jamie Mchugh as well, sitting in 5th. There's Baker, fires one through on the inside of Randall.
Wayne Randall, his car looks a little tight, but maybe in the early going, that's the way to be a little tight, and then as the track slicks off, hopefully the car will dial in setup-wise.
Yeah, for sure. Out in front, though, Brad Smith looking very, very smart. You'll notice now Mchugh tries to get on the inside of Randall. Randall sitting in 4th. Baker, he's out of there. He's in 3rd spot now.
Fantastic stuff, Alan Baker. Leading the Blue Oval Brigade here at Parramatta City Raceway, the feature race, the championship final. The Daihatsu-sponsored V8 Super Sedan Championship. And what a race in store. I think it was 40 laps from memory. A heck of a finale. And Brad Smith, that car looks absolutely peachy to run the cushion with confidence coming out of 2.
See Johnny Leslie getting very, very sideways earlier on already, which doesn't spell a good sign for later on in the race for Leslie.
Yeah, we got a yellow light scenario, and I think it is because of debris on the racetrack. Safety is always uppermost with the nature of the industry and the sport we're in, I guess. Brad Smith, John Leslie, Alan Baker, Randall, Mchugh. Looks like Sims further back doing a good job. Can't pick up the number. I'd suggest Keith Sims. He was the strongest of the Sims clan coming into this final.
Yeah, Keith the only one to make it through to the feature. Dennis was first reserve. Unfortunately missed out by a point.
That's a tough deal, particularly when you've supported 2 nights of racing and you first reserve. They've got to run a B main. That's my opinion anyway. They've got to give everyone an opportunity to move forward. That's what makes the Knoxville National special. You can come. In fact, the Chili Bowl Nationals this year, Darren, I don't know if you heard of that. Oh, Johnny Leslie. Trouble with a capital T. Oh, I wonder what they're going to do here. Will they let him restart in position? In fact, they do. So they deem that he mustn't have caused the problem. I don't know how you interpret those sometimes, but there you go. He's back in 2nd place.
It was a little bit of a racing incident. It's pretty hard to tell, but Leslie did keep going, so he could have kept the car running in about 6th or 7th spot, but they did bring the lights on. Was there any need to do it? I really don't know.
I don't think this track's going to get awfully slick, Darren. It's staying pretty hooky and ruddy through turns 3 and 4. In fact, turns 1 and 2 look likely to go slicker way faster than 3 and 4 on this occasion.
Yeah, there seems to be a little bit more moisture down in 3 and 4. See Leslie running up a little bit higher on the cushion. Baker really sideways. Back to Randall. There's John Pine. Right. Oh no, it's Mchugh actually, way out in the boondocks.
In the nosebleed section. That's where he's at the moment. The rarefied air of the eye line by an absolute mile. Almost could wave hello to the tyre wall, the infamous Parramatta City Raceway tyre wall in 3 and 4. But Brad Smith, that car is still set up to absolute perfection. And it's a credit to him in that little transport car, number 46. In fact, he had to put on an entire new front nose clip on that race car after the Victorian title a week earlier, where it got tore off in a feature race altercation. And apparently in that race he was looking very strong as well. So obviously a bit of a tough run, but looking fantastic at the moment.
Doesn't seem to have affected the car though. It's the car sits very flat. It's a very good race car on the track by the looks of it. But you'll notice there John Pines passed around about 7 or 8 cars. Michael G, because of the stoppage, runs his way to the back of the pack.
Race restart, and Leslie in 2nd place. Can he break through? Can he shake the dreaded monkey off his back of claiming, finally, an Australian V8 Super Sedan Championship? In the meantime, Brad Smith, he's looking fantastic.
Have a look how smooth the car goes through the turn, Dino. It just looks really smart mid-turn. 3rd spot sits Baker. Keith Sims doing a great job, still sitting in around about 5th spot in the Sims tilt tray car 82.
Just shows, yeah, he's doing a fantastic job. There isn't an awful lot of actually Sydney Super Sedan drivers, but it just shows the awesome tradition and heritage that Newcastle had for tin top racing. So many people from the Hunter Valley region still racing in Super Sedans. It just shows the history of the sport is very important in ensuring its future.
Oh, for sure. It's Sydney drivers tend to go mainly to the wings, and in the Hunter Valley area you have so many multiple champions, Lilford, Pine, the 2 Pines, you have Bernie Roberts, Carrick. In the Newcastle area, Super Sedans were huge.
And certainly still very much revered. A lot of people, I remember questioning the crowd, how many of you are from that region? A lot of people put their hands up. Happy to make the long haul to PCR to catch their beloved Super Sedans strutting their stuff on the Parramatta clay. Talking about strutting their stuff, I like the form of Alan Baker at the moment in that Falcon, looking very, very strong.
Yeah, problems for Gartner, pulls the Speedway Autos car to the infield on the back straight that time. Baker looking very smart on the back of Les Light at the moment. Brad Smith, bye-bye, he's out of there, he's gone.
Gone in that Stein Earth moving Falcon, Alan Baker. Still, it's one thing to catch, it's another thing to pass as they go through turns 3 and 4. Alan Baker comfortable running right up on the cushion through turns 3 and 4. Gee, Keith Sims, very impressive in that Monaro. Oh, contact for the reigning Australian champion. I remember Colin Farr, one of our commentators on the night, Darren Cave, of course, for those who weren't aware, was commentating on the night with us. Colin gave him the kiss of death and said that could very much be the end of his championship. Let's see if he was right, mate.
Unbelievable. Peter Lowe just clipped the rear of the current Australian champion.
And they sent him rear of field too.
Yeah, at the moment we see Peter Lowe sitting rear of field for sure.
In fact, same with Mick Nicola. For some reason, they sent him to the back of the tree.
Yeah.
And you could almost argue that he probably just was an innocent victim of race contact there. In fact, is that Mick Nicola further forward?
I think it looked like Peter Logue, actually.
Peter Logue. So Peter Logue was allowed to restart in position. Nicola went to the back of the bus.
Sorry about that, folks. We'll get it right sooner or later.
Well done, the Cave Man. They come out of turn number 4. Brad Smith. Look, I've got to say it. He's looking absolutely dominant here, and if that car can hold together, I think he would win the championship.
Yeah, it's looking very smart. He was out of picture in the last, before the stoppage there with Nicola, and Smith just looking, makes a mistake there as they came out. Oh, problems actually for Smith.
Yeah, now do you remember exactly what happened?
I think it was an axle from memory, but I thought it was a little bit further on than this. Absolute heartache for Brad Smith. The car was, I would have had 100 on him.
He was the class act of the night, no doubt about it. Didn't rub another racer the entire championship. And I know personally I have the utmost admiration for his driving ability. I know a lot of the Parramatta Sydney fans too, Darren, were thoroughly impressed with the way he drove. He drove with style and class.
Yeah, for sure. And at the moment you'll notice Les Light, Baker, back to Corn. Then we have, it looks like Randall. Danger coming up. There's Sims and John Pine together back in 5th and 6th.
And Keith Sims is having a run to remember at the moment. But Alan Baker pressuring for second for Johnny Leslight. He's got the bit between his teeth. The destiny is totally in his hands at the moment, Darren.
Mchugh Baker very sideways coming out of 4. Look at the sideways motion on Baker. That car is really loose, and we've still looked like we still had around about 18 laps left to run.
Looks like a bit of state of origin super sedan style at the moment. A couple of Queenslanders, a couple of New South Wales boys. It's all happening here at PCR. Johnny Leslight, yellow light scenario once again. A number of race restarts. Yep, surprise, surprise. It was a very incident-packed featured championship race on the night. You'd remember it well.
Yeah, for sure. And another thing too, when the track goes slick, a little bit different for sedans, because you don't have the downforce that you have with, say, a sprint car or a leader car with a big wing setup. On a slick track, the car is really, really loose. Like, the car wants to turn around on you every single corner.
Yellow light scenario once again. Now, with the sprint car, they talk about getting a lot of drive from the left rear tyre. Speed car racing, they talk about setting up to get a lot of drive from the right rear tyre. Where is the best place in the super sedan? Right rear tyre?
No, I don't know. I just sit there and drive it.
Sit there and drive it.
I think it depends on the track, of course. Some guys, when it starts to slicken up a bit more, they put a lot of weight from the right rear. I leave it mainly to my pit crew. As I said, I'm pretty new to this type of thing, but and I never asked that question when I was a commentator. As much super sedan commentating I've ever done, I've never asked that question. Do you know that's in the logbook?
Okay, good man. Yeah, in the meantime, Johnny Leslight, once again, we saw an altercation with John Pine and Bert Bosbergen. Now, John Pine was sent to the back of the bus, and he was fired up. That is an absolute understatement. He was... And massive crash for John Pine, speak of the devil, involving Bert Bosbergen, his earlier protagonist, and Wayne Randall, I believe. Terrible luck for John Pine. That is the biggest super sedan crash I've seen anywhere.
That is huge. Now, we just saw it as they came onto the main straight. John Pine was on the inside of Randall. You'll notice Randall's left rear is flat. That's Randall, the red, white and blue car. Now, John Pine was on the inside of Randall trying to squeeze up on the inside, and they made contact.
Well, I've got to say there, Darren, that was one of the biggest crashes I've ever seen. Have you seen any nastier than that one involving car number, well, I guess normally car number 91 of Luke Pine, but John Pine, massive crash, as we see Bert Bosbergen's machine towed off track as well. Yeah,
that's very second-hand for Bert. Had nowhere to go, ran into the, looked like the front of Wayne Randall. That was a massive crash from John Pine. So the ambulance people are still working on John, no doubt. Ambers are on.
yellow light situation. And John Leslie, what would be entering his mind, of course, knowing he's raced for some time, the feeling I'd love to win this championship?
I think he's a pretty smooth customer. I think he's certainly a racer. A lot of people call him the old man, but he's got more go than a lot of the young guys for sure. But no doubt John wants to win one. Everybody would love to win one, and he's in the vehicle that could probably do it. Look at that, long way back. There's the Australian champion, Mick Nicola.
Well, we started with 20 cars. We're down to about 7 or 8 at the moment. It has been a war of attrition.
Dino, did you hear any news about how John Pine was, actually?
Yeah, important to note that. Actually, good question, mate. Yeah, look, we had a chat to John. He was ensconced in hospital for some considerable time, wearing a neck brace and obviously lying prostrate on his back. He said it was very character building for him. And fundamentally, though, he is A-OK, but obviously he did have some disc injury in his back, and it took some considerable time for it to repair, and it's still a process going on right now. So he did have a cracked vertebra, and pretty serious, but fortunately the medical crew did a great job, and I've got to add kudos to the recovery team, and David Higgins did a fantastic job, a Newcastle boy, and knew how to get that guy out of the car in a proper and safe manner. Yeah,
for sure. I saw John around about a month ago at a 21st party, and he was looking very, very stiff. Still had the neck brace on as well. So hopefully he'll be back.
Yeah, it certainly does. In fact, I think he's saying he was going to retire after this event, but I think the manner of that accident, I think he does definitely want to turn some laps in anger before he finishes up. In the meantime, back focusing on the racing in this Championship A main, Mick Nicola. Darren Cave, my co-commentator, touched on that he started the rear of the field of the restart. Now he's up to 3rd place. The cream surely does rise to the top.
Have a look how good the car's working. You see Baker still majorly sideways, cannot get on the gas as quick as Nicola can. Leslie, he's about in the same boat. These two are not catching or losing each other. Nicola's come from nowhere and now sits in 3rd spot. Make it 2nd. Problems for Baker, it looks like, on the back straight.
In fact, the car was just getting worse and worse in the handling department. Something has broken on that car. No question. Bad luck for Alan Baker.
Car very twitchy. Bernie Roberts getting it all wrong there in turn 4.
Look at some of those ruts and corrugations in turn number 4. The drivers have done well to deal with that part of the racetrack. In the meantime, John Leslie, got to say, even his car's starting to come off. You were touching on it before too, that early on, a lot of these cars may look $1 million, but it's at the money end of it that really matters.
It just depends on who can get on the power the most. Of course, you go faster in a straight line, and if you can get on the gas earlier, of course you're going to be faster down the back.
Absolutely, John Leslie. But look at Mick Nicola, the Victorian, the reigning champion, National Warranty Company, Lucas Oil sponsored Pontiac, an absolute master behind the race wheel, no question.
And we still have Leslie. There's Nicola, doesn't seem to have made up any ground. Baker is lapped, of course, with problems with the yellow car. Back to look like Harper, then back to Wayne Brims, who's come from nowhere.
Absolutely, a great battle here amongst the protagonists that remain on track here at Parramatta City Raceway with the running of the Daihatsu-sponsored V8 Super Sedan Championship. We're getting out to the final laps in this event. It's going to be a tremendous tussle over the closing laps. Johnny Leslie, car number 83. Can he hold on? The Queenslander, well, really a New South Welshman, but races in Queensland primarily these days.
Have a look at Nicola now. We've lost a few of the drivers, only with around about 6 or 7 drivers left on track. As you can see, Leslie very, very touchy, very feathery on the throttle, and Nicola will now have the red mist, no doubt.
The red mist. Alan Baker still trying to finish for credibility as much as anything. His championship claims are gone. But look at Mick Nicola on the high line. Darren Cave touched on it earlier. Look at him. Is this a pass for the championship race lead through turns 3 and 4 up in the marbles? What a daring pass. Mick Nicola, well done. What a move.
And poor John Leslie will be going, oh no, not again. Nicola removed. Now this man has gone rear of field halfway through the feature race. He's now trying to make it back-to-back Australian champions. John Leslie sits in 2nd. We go back to Harper, who will be in 3rd from Wayne Brims at the moment. Back to, I think it's Bernie Roberts, and then back to the 63 car.
It's a championship thoroughly deserved. Again, typically a very clean race car driver. Oh, hooks the cushion big time. Nearly took the steering wheel out of his hands there. Have you had that sensation before?
Yes, I have actually. Tagged the wall at Toowoomba, which hurt big time. But lucky also not to grab a tyre then as they came out onto the cushion. Great drive from Nicola.
Absolutely dominating run from Mick Nicola. Fantastic job.
Wayne Brims finishes in third spot there, and then we go back to Harper. So Harper will finish in fourth. Fifth spot will go to Bernie Roberts, I'd say, at the moment. Looks like they're coming around for around about the last lap.
Absolutely. How about it? First, a back-to-back Australian champion. Mick Nicola first, John Leslight second, Wayne Brims third, Jared Harper fourth, Bernie Roberts in fifth, Tony Barclaymore in sixth place.
See, Mick Nicola absolutely pumping his fists out the window. That is one of the best drives I've seen in an Australian title feature. He
was very, very emotional coming out of that race car, and why wouldn't he be? He probably thought midway through that race that his chances were gone.
He would have been certainly one of the long shot favourites around about halfway through. No doubt Mick Nicola will be your 2003 Australian Super Sedan champion. Great stuff.
Well, Darren, thanks very much for joining me in commentary. Hope you've enjoyed it, and thanks for your time, mate.
Anytime, my pleasure.
Darren Cave from Newcastle, a man that's keen about his Super Sedan racing, in fact, keen about his speedway. Thank you for joining us for the Australian V8 Super Sedan title.